The story of living together with a beautiful teacher in black stockings. Chapter 1. The new psychology teacher is so beautiful. I could hardly believe it. Our new, beautiful female teacher was exactly my type. I'm a university student, just 20 years old, at the peak of my youth, full of passion. But at the same time, this age is also a confusing period. As a student, career isn't even on my mind, but I can't accept failure when it comes to love. I've been chasing the pretty girls in my class since freshman year, but it's already the last year of university and my success rate is still zero. At this point, I've lost faith in women, and the passion I had when I first came to university is long gone. On days when I have nothing to do, I just sleep in the dorm or play cards with my roommates, passing time and waiting for the day when I'll get married, have kids, and settle down. But fate is always unpredictable. Just when I was losing hope in living a passionate life, a woman entered my life. She was my teacher. One day, I was getting ready for a nap when my roommate, Xiao Hua, came into the dorm with a grin on his face. A new psychology teacher just arrived, and she's incredibly beautiful. She has set up a psychological counseling station in the East Lecture Hall for 2 hours. Are you going to check it out? Xiao Hua said excitedly. Even if she is beautiful, she is not yours. Stop babbling. If you want to go, go quickly. Don't disturb my nap. Yang Mao Jin, our dorm leader, covered his head with a blanket and went back to sleep. Really no fun. Xiao Hua muttered, turning to leave. Hey, wait up, I'll go with you. I quickly got up, put on my shoes, and stood next to Xiao Hua. Hee, I knew you'd go. Xiao Hua patted me on the shoulder and opened the door to leave. We arrived outside the East Lecture Hall. There was already a line, mostly made up of guys, likely there for the same reason, to get a closer look at the beautiful teacher. There are a lot of people, but if we stand in line now, we should still get our turn, Xiao Hua said excitedly, walking to the end of the line. Seeing all these people, I wasn't as interested anymore, but the thought of going back to sleep was even less appealing. So, I joined Xiao Hua at the end of the line. After waiting for over an hour, it was finally our turn, and I breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, by now, I was a little excited. I'll go in first. You can wait a bit longer, har har. Xiao Hua waved and walked into the East Lecture Hall. Standing at the door, I looked back at the others still waiting in line, and my excitement grew stronger. I even started thinking about what to say to the beautiful teacher. Should I prepare a few difficult, inappropriate questions to ask? Just as I was lost in thought, Xiao Hua suddenly came back out, beaming with excitement. He pushed me. What are you dazing about? It's your turn, hurry up and go in. Xiao Hua said with a grin. Oh, is the teacher really that beautiful? I quickly asked him. You'll know when you go in. Xiao Hua chuckled and pushed me inside. As soon as I entered the lecture hall, before I even saw the beautiful teacher, Xiao Hua's voice came from outside. Teacher, this young man has some psychological issues. Can you help him? Damn you. I quickly opened the door and yelled at Xiao Hua, before walking back in. When I turned around, it felt like I was electrocuted, frozen in place. Xiao Hua was right, the new psychology teacher was indeed stunning, a beautiful face, an enchanting figure, and more importantly, she was wearing black stockings. I'm a total stocking lover, especially black stockings, and you can imagine how I was feeling at that moment. You have a cheerful personality and your habits seem fine, so you probably don't have any psychological problems. You can go now, and let the next person in, she said as I was lost in thought. I have a problem. In my panic, I blurted it out. You have a problem? The beautiful teacher was taken aback, then suddenly started laughing. All right, come over here and tell me what the problem is. Hearing the teacher ask me to stay, I forgot about what I had said earlier and walked over to the podium, sitting in the chair opposite her. I don't have a physical problem, but I do have a psychological issue, I said, my eyes fixed on the teacher's chest. Well, tell me what the issue is, she smiled, seemingly unaware of my lecherous gaze. I don't have much personal charm, so I can't get a girlfriend. I feel lonely, empty, and confused. I've lost confidence in the future and passion for life. I feel like my life has no meaning, I said boldly. You think you have low personal charm? I think you have plenty of charm, you just lack confidence. Try to find confidence in life, or change your lifestyle, and you'll start thinking differently, she replied with a smile. That's not it. I've tried, and it hasn't worked at all, I said, finally shifting my gaze from her chest to her face, locking eyes with her. Well then, let me ask you a few questions. How does that sound? She asked. Sure, go ahead, I responded nonchalantly. Do you have a girlfriend? She asked. No, I'm single, I immediately replied. Have you ever had a girlfriend? She asked again. No, I've always been single, I answered. Have you ever liked someone? She asked. Yes, many times. I replied. Do you have someone you like now? She asked. Yeah, just recently, I admitted. Have you confessed to her? She asked. No, I haven't. I'm too shy, I said, scratching my head a bit embarrassed. You're a man, and you're still shy about this. Don't worry, just go ahead and confess. See what happens. She encouraged me. What if she rejects me? I asked. If she rejects you, then ask her why. Come back and tell me, and I'll help you analyze it, she said with a smile. I really appreciate it, teacher. I said excitedly, pulling my phone from my pocket. Teacher, can you give me your phone number? She smiled and nodded, giving me her number. After saving her number, I said, You're too kind, teacher. You're the best teacher I've ever met. To show my gratitude, I'd love to take you out for dinner tonight. You have to accept. The teacher seemed taken aback, standing silently for a moment before replying, Well, I don't know if that's a good idea. Come on, teacher, there's nothing wrong with it. I just want to show my gratitude. Please let me treat you. If you don't, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I said passionately, standing up from my seat. Well, all right, but you're still a student, and you don't have an income. Let us go somewhere casual, she finally agreed, apparently moved by my sincerity. I honestly hadn't expected her to agree, but now that she had, I felt my heart race with excitement. This kind of happiness is something no one who hasn't experienced it can truly understand. Chapter 2, The Standard Rich and Beautiful Teacher. Millimeter, thank you, teacher, for agreeing to my request. I'll head out now. You should be free around 5:30 p.m., right? I'll give you a call then. I said, filled with excitement. 5:30 p.m. might be a bit early, how about 7 p.m.? Call me then, and I'll come find you, the teacher replied with a smile. Okay, sounds good. I nodded eagerly and was about to turn to leave when I suddenly realized I still didn't know her name. I quickly said, Teacher, I don't know your name yet. Can you tell me? My name is Xue Minrue. You can call me Teacher Xue when other students are around, but when it's just the two of us, you can call me by my first name, the beautiful teacher replied with a sweet smile. Looking at her smiling face, I felt an overwhelming surge of excitement. I'll stick with calling you Teacher Xue, I forced myself to calm down. I'm Sun Xiaolong. You can also call me Xiaolong. I won't disturb you from helping other students with their psychological issues. I'll leave now, but I'll call you later. Alright, Xiaolong, see you later. Teacher Xue waved as I almost tripped over myself on their way out. Walking out of the classroom, I felt like I was in a dream. I couldn't believe I had successfully arranged a date with my teacher. This was unbelievably exciting. I punched the air twice to release some of my excitement before walking out of the building. Xiaolong, so excited, huh? Did you just flirt with the new psychology teacher? Xiao Hua, my friend, suddenly appeared out of nowhere, slinging his arm around my shoulder with a mischievous grin. Well, kind of. Har har. I shook off his arm and, with a quick motion, tried to land a punch on his chest. Looking for a fight. Xiao Hua reacted quickly, intercepting my punch before it could land. Bruce Lee created Jeet Kune Do, but most people don't know that the essence of Jeet Kune Do isn't in the feet, it's in the hands, he laughed. Cut the crap, let go of me. My wrist was pinned painfully, and I was starting to feel it. Who told you to sneak attack me? Xiao Hua chuckled and released my wrist, then slapped his hand back on my shoulder. Come on, tell me how you managed to get the beautiful teacher to agree to go out with you. I think you don't need to know this. I was feeling smug now, since Xiao Hua wanted to hear, I decided to tease him a little. Damn, hurry up and tell me. Didn't you want to learn my Jeet Kune Do? We'll find some time and I'll teach you, Xiao Hua eagerly looked at me, clearly very interested in the details. Fine, but you promised not to play any tricks. No secret techniques or anything, or else you're in for it. I said seriously. Don't worry, I won't lie to you this time, Xiaohua said with a serious expression, trying to match mine. Okay, I'll tell you. I pulled a cigarette from my pocket and lit it up, taking a slow drag. Well, it's nothing much. I just talked to her about relationships and married life. She realized we really clicked and then said she'd take me out for dinner tonight. That's it. You're full of shit. The teacher would never take you out for dinner. If anyone's going out with her, it's me, not you. Xiaohua sneered and pulled his hand off my shoulder before heading back into the classroom. I knew he was probably off to find his girlfriend. In this day and age, guys tend to look for more adventurous girlfriends, and Xiaohua was definitely acting on that. But when it came to marriage, a wild wife could be a problem. If a woman gets too used to being wild, she won't discriminate, and if she ends up in someone else's bed, the consequences could be disastrous. Back at the dorm, I checked the time, it was only 4 p.m. My date with teacher Xue was still 3 hours away. I decided to take a shower and tidy up my hair. After all, I needed to look my best, so I could impress her and score some extra points with my appearance. I still had 400 yuan left from my allowance. Though it was the beginning of the month, I decided to spend it all. After all, what's life if you don't have a goal? Just eating 3 meals a day isn't enough to feel like life has a purpose, right? Spending this money on impressing a beautiful teacher seemed much more meaningful than using it for food. After a quick shower and getting a fresh haircut, I only spent 30 yuan. I had to say, small towns were much more affordable than big cities. At least we, the working class folks, could still appreciate the value of money. It was now 6:30 p.m., and the date was just half an hour away. I was getting more and more excited, and my desires were growing stronger. I couldn't help but wonder if we went out for dinner and maybe had some drinks, could I get her drunk and turn this into a life-changing experience? Maybe I would finally transform from a boy into a real man. Desires have a way of taking over. Just a moment of thought, and my little prince was already standing tall. It was uncomfortable, especially since I was wearing tight jeans. I knew I had to relieve myself soon. Luckily, there was a bar nearby. I quickly headed to the restroom, locked the door behind me, and unbuckled my belt. As soon as Little Prince was freed from the confines of my jeans, he immediately stood to attention, as if telling the heavens, I'm ready, come on down. Just as I was preparing to fire, my phone rang at the most inopportune moment. Don't tell me you're just calling to hear my voice. I cursed under my breath before pulling out the phone from my pocket. Xue Minrue appeared on the screen, with a seductive selfie of a Japanese AV actress displayed beneath her name. When I was getting my hair done, I had set this photo as her caller ID picture for fun. Now, it actually seemed to work quite well. Since it was Teacher Xue calling, I immediately answered the phone with politeness. Hello, Teacher Xue. I'm waiting for you at the school gate. Come over, she said before hanging up. I stuffed the phone back in my pocket, quickly buckled my pants, and rushed out of the restroom. Outside, I jogged towards the school gate. As I neared, I slowed down, trying to look calm. I couldn't let Teacher Xue think I was too eager, right? Otherwise, I'd come off as some desperate loser. Pretending to be leisurely, I crossed the street and stood by the school gate, looking around. But I didn't see Teacher Xue anywhere. Could it be that she was lying? Just then, a loud horn honked, almost making my heart jump out of my chest. I glared in the direction of the car, ready to unleash my fury, or, well, just send some death rays with my eyes. I spotted the car. It was a red BMW, parked just 10 meters away from me. As I was about to give it the eye death, the window rolled down, and a beautiful face appeared in my view. Teacher Xue. I was shocked. I had never expected her to be driving a BMW. This was a big surprise for both me and my little buddy. Get in. Tonight, I'm treating you. I'll take you out to have some fun, Teacher Xue waved at me. Here is the English translation of the provided text. Chapter 3, Who Will Get Drunk First? I never expected that, by accident, I'd make a standard rich and beautiful girl my target. A rich beauty should be paired with a wealthy, handsome guy, but even after asking myself 1,000 times, I'm still just a poor, somewhat tall guy who's neither handsome nor wealthy. If you're not going, I'm leaving. The window of the red BMW began to rise. How could I not go? Even if she is a rich beauty, she will have lonely, empty moments, and that's my chance. Why would I pass it up? I'm going, I'm going. I shouted as I ran over, opened the passenger door, and got in. Teacher, you're so rich, why are you still a teacher? The car started driving. While driving, Teacher Shui replied, becoming a teacher is purely a hobby for me. It has nothing to do with whether I'm rich or not, right? Of course, of course. Hobbies and money are unrelated, I quickly nodded and responded. Hee, Teacher Shui chuckled. What do you want to eat? I'll take you wherever you want. Oh, no, teacher. Let me treat you, I said, although I'm not as rich as you, I can still afford a meal. You choose wherever you want to go, and I'll pay. After all, she's a woman. What kind of man would let a woman pay for the meal? That's too embarrassing for us men, right? Hee, okay. Just don't regret it later, Teacher Shui laughed softly. That made me nervous. It sounded like we were going to a high-end place, and I only had less than 400 yuan on me. If I couldn't pay, I'd be humiliated. But the words were already out, and like spilled water, I couldn't take them back. I could only hope for the best. The school is located in a remote area of Zhuchuan, a place where even birds don't poop. I came here because of the satellite launch base's reputation, but now, I regret it a little. However, thinking about it, meeting such a beautiful teacher here might be a little compensation from fate. After more than 10 minutes, the car finally entered the Zhuchuan city center and stopped in front of the Shangyun restaurant. Teacher Shui was ready to get out, but I hesitated. I'd been to Shangyun restaurant once during a class gathering, and the prices were extremely high, definitely out of my league. We're here. Get out, Teacher Shui grabbed her bag from the back seat and opened the car door. My scalp tingled. But as a man, I couldn't let my face be lost, so I mustered a smile and said, okay, let's go. I opened the BMW door, and as I stepped out, I felt a little unsteady. Didn't you eat lunch? You look so sluggish, Teacher Shui said, looking at me. Of course, I was sluggish because I didn't have any money. I cursed inwardly but said out loud, I ate lunch, but I guess I might be car sick. You're car sick? Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had, I would have driven slower. Maybe it would have helped, Teacher Shui said as she walked over and gently placed her hand on my arm. Let me help you inside. That might be better. At that moment, I truly felt a little dizzy. The beautiful teacher was holding my arm. This would be explosive news if anyone at school saw it. The entire school would probably be buzzing. Thanks, teacher. I feel a lot better now, I smiled at her, but the mischievous smile inside was hidden deep within my heart. Let's go up, Teacher Shui said as she helped me walk forward. Even though I still had no money, I had pushed the issue of money far out of my mind. As long as I could hook up with the beautiful teacher, what was a little embarrassment? Besides, we hadn't reached the point where I needed to pay yet. I could still pretend for a while there, saying, a path will appear when the car reaches the mountain. We'll go to the KTV nearby for some drinks. They also serve food. We can just order some barbecue, Teacher Shui said, suddenly glancing at me. You don't mind having a drink, do you? No, I don't mind. Of course, I don't mind. I replied, but inside, I was thrilled. Drinking could lead to a chance to get physical. This was an opportunity. Teacher Shui didn't know my devious thoughts. After I agreed to go for drinks, she seemed a bit relieved. Had something happened that made her want to drink? Why did it seem like drinking would make her feel better? I pondered curiously. The KTV was right next to Shangyun restaurant. Teacher Shui guided me there. This felt amazing, especially when I could make others think that this stunning beauty was my girlfriend. It added a little to my sense of pride, something I'd never felt before. It was quite satisfying. This KTV was luxurious, and though it was my first time there, Teacher Shui seemed like a regular. She effortlessly opened a private room and led me inside. The room was dark, and when the male server entered, he turned on the lights and the sound system. What would you like to drink? The server asked, but his eyes were fixed on Teacher Shui as if I didn't exist. 3 boxes of Tsingtao beer, and just bring some barbecue, Teacher Shui said, placing her bag on the couch and turning her back to the attentive server. "Okay, please wait a moment," the server said, his eyes lingering on Teacher Shue's thighs before he left. I had to admit, Teacher Shue's legs in black stockings were incredibly seductive. You can imagine how it felt, a pair of long legs in black stockings. It was a rhythm that drove men wild. 3 boxes of beer, just the two of us. Should be no problem, right? Teacher Shue sat on the couch, rummaging through her bag. "No problem, 3 boxes are nothing. I want to get drunk," I said, though a little nervous inside. But to fulfill my grand ambition of seducing the beautiful teacher, I had to show some confidence. Teacher Shue nodded and pulled something out of her bag. To my surprise, it was a pack of women's cigarettes. I felt a little stunned. Teacher Shue smoked. "Do you want one?" Teacher Shue asked, offering me a cigarette. I wasn't sure if I should take it. "Oh, I forgot. You men don't smoke these women's cigarettes." Teacher Shue smiled gently, then lit one for herself with a purple windproof lighter. As the blue flame flared up, the first puff of the cigarette swirled in the air, and she exhaled gracefully. Her smoking was both beautiful and alluring. I'd never known smoking could be done so gracefully, so seductively. "Sorry to interrupt," a female server entered with a cart and placed the 3 boxes of beer on the table. After setting everything down, she left, and the room was left with just me and Teacher Shue. Seeing all the beer, I suddenly felt a headache coming on. Now I could truly realize how terrifying 3 boxes of beer were. Since Teacher Shue ordered 3 boxes, I could only assume she could handle her alcohol well. I didn't know whether I'd end up getting Teacher Shue drunk, or if she'd get me drunk, or perhaps both of us would be drunk. Chapter 4: The Teacher's Impressive Alcohol Tolerance. "Go play some background music, something upbeat, but not DJ stuff," Teacher Shue said, pointing to the jukebox. I turned and walked over. After thinking for a moment, I realized I didn't know many upbeat songs. The only one I could clearly remember was Cheong Kaisen by the Hua Band. "How about Cheong Kaisen?" I asked, turning back to Teacher Shue. "Whatever, as long as it's a cheerful song," she said, having already taken a beer from the box and preparing to pour it into a glass. I found the song on the jukebox, selected it, and then decided to leave the rest to chance. Whatever song came on next would be fine. After setting the song, I walked over and sat down on a small stool across from her on the couch. "What are you sitting there for? Come over here. There are no teachers or students here, we're friends." Teacher Shue gestured to the seat beside her. I was absolutely thrilled. Never had I imagined becoming friends with a beautiful, rich woman. "You're so easygoing, Teacher Shue," I said with a smile and moved to sit beside her. "Let's toast. In this vast world, every encounter is a kind of fate, don't you think?" Teacher Shue said, lifting her glass and handing me another. I took the glass and quickly replied, "You're right, Teacher Shue. Our meeting is indeed fate. Let's drink to our fate. Cheers." Teacher Shue clinked her glass with mine and drank it down in one go. I had expected this. I had seen women who could drink, but if they couldn't down a drink like that, their alcohol tolerance was clearly exaggerated. "You seem to be quite the drinker. How about a little contest?" After placing her glass down, Teacher Shue picked up a bottle of unopened alcohol from the table. "If you're not scared, why should I be? Let's do it." I grabbed an unopened bottle from the table, used my teeth to pop the cap off, and said confidently, "Seems like a seasoned drinker. Let's see who can finish a bottle first. The loser has to take a penalty drink." Teacher Shue expertly used her teeth to open the bottle. "All right, let's start." I raised the bottle to my lips and signaled Teacher Shue to begin. "Okay, let's go." Teacher Shue said, then placed the bottle to her mouth and tilted it downward, pouring the alcohol into her stomach. I was a bit slower, but I could see how fast the alcohol was going down. The speed was so impressive it made me question if I was really watching a woman drink. Not wanting to fall behind, I quickly followed suit, pouring the alcohol down as fast as I could. While Teacher Shue was strong, I wasn't to be outdone. The liquid rushed down into my stomach, and I pushed myself to drink as fast as possible. I could only hear the gulping sound, as the music faded from my mind. After what felt like forever, I finally finished my bottle, quickly set it down on the table. Just as I did, Teacher Shue placed her bottle down as well. Cough, cough. Teacher Shui lightly coughed twice, grabbed her bag, and took out a tissue to wipe the remnants of alcohol from her lips. Sorry, this is the only tissue I have. If you don't mind, you can use it. Teacher Shui handed me the tissue. Huh. I was a bit embarrassed, but then realized it might be a kind of indirect kiss, and couldn't help but feel excited. Without thinking, I took the tissue from her. It's fine, I believe you don't have foot and mouth disease, I joked. With a rush of excitement, I slowly brought the tissue to my lips. The middle of the tissue was wet where Teacher Shui had wiped her lips. Without her noticing, I used the same spot to gently rub my lips. Though I could only smell the tissue's fragrance, the psychological effect made my heart race. You're so funny. Har har, I guess I lost this round. I'll drink a penalty bottle, Teacher Shui said, grabbing another bottle from the table. But I just had one, so I'll wait a bit before drinking this one. Hope that's okay with you. No problem at all, Teacher Shui. Drink whenever you like, it's all up to you. I thought to myself, delighted. Now, Teacher Shui had more alcohol than me. If anyone were to get drunk, it would probably be her. As I thought about this, my eyes couldn't help but glance at her black stockings again. It was like an addiction. I couldn't stop looking at them, and the itch in my heart just wouldn't go away. How about we play cards? High or low, the loser drinks. What do you think? Teacher Shui suddenly suggested. I quickly tore my gaze away from her legs and responded, sure, sounds good. Seeing I had no objections, Teacher Shui immediately grabbed the cards from the table, shuffled them a few times, and dealt one to each of us. My card was a 9. Hers was a 10, just higher than mine. I had to drink this round. There were plenty more rounds to come, though, so the game was still fair. As we drank more, we finished off an entire case of beer, and by the time we started the second case, we had already drunk half of it. By this point, I was still clear-headed, but my stomach was starting to feel full. Beer might not get you drunk easily, but it sure fills you up fast. Looking at Teacher Shui, though, she still seemed in control. She was more carefree than when we started, but didn't look drunk. Feeling a bit discouraged, I stood up and said to her, Teacher Shui, where's the bathroom? The bathroom? Just go out, turn right, and walk a few steps. You'll see it. Teacher Shui smiled and directed me. Maybe it was because of all the drinking, but I hadn't really noticed her face before. Now that I looked at it, I saw a faint flush on her cheeks. She was already beautiful, but the slight redness made her look even more alluring. I suddenly had an overwhelming urge to rush up and kiss her. I resisted the impulse, thanked her, and left the room, following her directions to the bathroom. It wasn't long before I found it and, after relieving myself, headed back to the room. As I approached the door, I heard singing inside. It must have been Teacher Shui. Her voice, just like her beautiful face, was incredibly captivating. Remember to forget. After passing by you, it was just an accidental encounter. Inside, Teacher Shui was singing S.H.E's Remember to Forget. I knew this song very well. It was about trying to forget but being unable to. No matter how hard you tried, the memory lingered. It was a sad song, outwardly optimistic, but deeply melancholic beneath the surface. I could tell Teacher Shui had something on her mind. I suddenly realized how lucky I was today. If she hadn't been upset and wanted to drink, I probably wouldn't have had the chance to sit here and drink with her. The song ended, and there was silence. I slowly pushed the door open and walked in. You're back? Come on over and drink with me. Teacher Shui was sitting on the couch, and as soon as she saw me, she waved me over. Teacher Shui, if you can't drink anymore, maybe you should take it easy, I unexpectedly said as I walked over. Could it be that I was actually worried about her? No worries, my alcohol tolerance is fine. I can drink another case if I want, Teacher Shui replied as she stood up and opened a third case of beer, placing it on the table. Chapter 5, Let's go to the teacher's house and sleep. Is it really okay? I asked Teacher Shui tentatively. Do you want to verify it? Teacher Shui picked up a bottle from the table with an unusually domineering attitude, pried open the beer cap with a lighter, and pretended to drink it. Oh, don't, Teacher Shui, I believe you are fine. I stepped forward and tried to snatch the bottle from Teacher Shui's hand. No, I just want to drink, don't bother me. Teacher Shui was fighting with me for the bottle. At this moment, I suddenly felt my feet slip and my body quickly moved to Teacher Shui. When people encounter danger, they always do something subconsciously. For example, at this moment, I didn't know what my hands did, and I had already pressed teacher Shui down on the sofa. At this moment, I suddenly felt that my hand was like grabbing a sponge, and a very soft thing was in my hand. I swear, if I hadn't drunk any wine, I would have stood up immediately with integrity, but unfortunately, I had drunk a little wine now. Because of my curiosity, I pinched the soft object with my hand. Oh! Teacher Shui moaned, and the sound was so seductive that I almost couldn't control myself. It was at this time that I realized that my hand was pinching one of Teacher Shui's proud breasts. I'm sorry, Teacher Shui. I quickly climbed up from Teacher Shui's body and stood on the ground, lowering my head and not daring to look at Teacher Shui. It's okay, let's continue drinking. Teacher Shui sat up from the sofa. I looked up at Teacher Shui and found a tear slipped from the corner of Teacher Shui's eyes. I know what kind of tear it is. We are all young people, and crying is nothing more than the word love, but I don't know which beast Teacher Shui is crying for. I really can't understand that a woman with such good conditions like Teacher Shui, there are still men who don't know how to cherish her. It's really a blessing. I can even swear now that if I get Teacher Shui, I will treat Teacher Shui wholeheartedly. Of course, this is just if, whether I can get Teacher Shui or not is still uncertain. Teacher Shui, since you want to drink, then Xiaolong will accompany you to drink all the time. When you don't want to drink anymore, I will send you back. You can also rest assured that as long as I am here, even if you can't walk after drinking, nothing will happen. I patted my chest and said to Teacher Shui. Har har, thank you. Teacher Shui wiped her tears with her hand, and then picked up the wine bottle from the table again. Come on, let's drink together. Teacher Shui is so generous, of course I can't fall behind. I picked up a wine bottle from the table, removed the bottle cap, and I clinked it with Teacher Shui, picked up the bottle and drank it. We drank until more than 1 o'clock in the evening. All 3 boxes of wine were drunk by us. Teacher Shui fell asleep on the sofa. Although my head was dizzy, my consciousness was particularly clear. I staggered to Teacher Shui's side and sat down, wanting to wake her up. However, just as I was about to pat her awake, my eyes were fixed on her long legs in black stockings. I am a pure stockings lover. I couldn't help myself after seeing the stockings. Even though I knew it was shameless to do so, I couldn't control my hands. I just watched my hands slowly touch Teacher Shui's thighs. Smooth. Cool. It seemed that there were only these 2 words in my sensory world. My hands gently wandered on Teacher Shui's thighs, while my eyes were fixed on Teacher Shui's eyes, watching her changes, fearing that she would suddenly wake up at this time. The feeling on my hands was quickly transmitted to my little prince through the central nervous system. The little prince stood up in an instant. I even had the urge to masturbate on the spot. One wave has not subsided, another wave comes to invade. I found that I was too evil. My hand had touched Teacher Shui's thigh, but my heart once again ran to another very important part of Teacher Shui's body. The short black silk skirt can cover the dense jungle, but it can't cover my yearning for the dense jungle. The scene in the Japanese art film flashed in my mind again, pushing aside the black forest, finding 2 small flesh petals, and then, I want to drink, give me wine. Teacher Shui's unclear voice came into my mind like thunder, and I was so scared that I quickly took off my hand that was touching Teacher Shui's thigh. Teacher Shui, you wake up. I said a little incoherently. Just now I felt a little bug crawling on my leg, can you help me find it? Teacher Shui got up from the sofa with difficulty, and then, without any warning, he vomited randomly. Teacher Shui, are you okay? I quickly ran over to support Teacher Shui, and gently pounded Teacher Shui's back with my hands, hoping to make Teacher Shui feel more comfortable. Alcohol is something that always feels good and powerful when you drink it, but when you vomit, you will find out how hateful it is. Teacher Shui stopped vomiting after a while. I touched my pocket and found that there was paper in my pocket. I quickly took out a piece of paper from it and handed it to Teacher Shui. Please help me wipe it. I feel that I have no strength. Teacher Shui's seductive voice came into my ears. After hesitating for a while, I put the paper on Teacher Shui's mouth and gently helped Teacher Shui wipe the residue on his mouth. Xiaolong, thank you. Teacher Shui said, and then lay on the sofa again. Teacher Shui, it's getting late. Where is your home? I'll take a taxi to take you home. I said to Teacher Shui after getting Teacher Shui's money. Go home. Teacher Shui suddenly turned over from the sofa. I'm not going home, I want to drink more, let's continue drinking. After searching on the table and the floor, teacher Shui looked up and asked me, "Where's the wine? Is it out? Ask the waiter to bring in another box." "But teacher Shui, it's already 1 o'clock, and the KTV will be closed soon. I still have to find a place to stay. If I wait any longer, the hotel will be full, and I will have no place to stay by then." I pretended to be pitiful and said to teacher Shui, "Hotel? Why do you want to stay in a hotel at night? Oh, I forgot, you are still a student, and the dormitory door should be locked now. Har har, it's okay, don't go to the hotel, just stay at my place, I have a lot of space there, I live alone, and it's okay to add you." Teacher Shui put one hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to worry about what I will do to you, I have no sexual interest in students like you, just rest assured." Oh. I felt that I had nothing to say. Are all drunk women like this? This is too much, right? Teacher Shui, of course I'm not afraid of you doing anything to me, but we are a man and a woman, and we are both drunk. I'm afraid that if something happens. I am not afraid as a woman, so why should you be afraid as a man? Teacher Shui interrupted me and yelled at me. I was stunned immediately. Now I was really speechless. "Let's go home, stop drinking, go home and sleep." Teacher Shui staggered to stand up, but fell down again just after standing up. "Teacher Shui, let me help you down." I quickly supported teacher Shui's arm, picked up teacher Shui's bag from the sofa with my other hand, and then helped teacher Shui out of the box. When I came to the cashier to pay, the waiter reported me a shocking 500 yuan, and I was stunned at the time. "I have a card in my bag, swipe it for my card," teacher Shui said in a vague voice. "No, Mr. Shui, I have money, I'll pay." I took out my wallet with gritted teeth, and when I was about to take money out of it, Mr. Shui stretched out his hand and snatched my wallet away. "Students can't treat teachers to meals and drinks, don't you know? Swipe from my card." Mr. Shui insisted on swiping the card. "In fact, this is a slope, I can only take advantage of the slope to get off the donkey. If I continue to be stubborn, when I really need to pay later, I can only stare blankly." Listening to Mr. Shui's instructions, I took out his wallet from Mr. Shui's bag, and took out an ICBC card according to Mr. Shui's instructions, and swiped it on the POS machine. "Sir, please enter the password," the cashier said sweetly. "Enter the password." I leaned close to Mr. Shui's ear and said, "It's my birthday, don't you even know this?" Mr. Shui stared at me. I was completely scared. I really wanted to swear to the sky that I didn't know Mr. Shui's birthday at all. However, it seemed difficult to ask teacher Shui to enter a password, so I found her ID card from her wallet and looked at her birthday. Teacher Shui was born on August 9, 1991, so I entered 199189 on the POS machine and found that the password was correct. After paying the bill, I helped teacher Shui out of the KTV, and then stopped a taxi on the street and drove to teacher Shui's home. Teacher Shui was determined to drive, but how could I dare to let her drive now? In her current state, it would hurt others and herself. Chapter 6, Uncontrollable Desire. The car soon arrived at the gate of teacher Shui's residential complex. This community is no different from other communities, at least from the outside, it looks the same as where poor people live. I got off the car first, and then helped teacher Shui get out of the car outside. Teacher Shui was still dizzy and didn't seem to be very sober. He had vomited. I don't understand why teacher Shui was still drunk. He didn't drink white wine. Could it have such a lasting effect? Teacher Shui, we are at the place you said. There are so many buildings here. Which one is your home? I asked teacher Shui. Have we arrived? Teacher Shui raised his head and looked around. It is indeed here. It is on the right side of the 4th floor of the 3rd unit of the 2nd building. Please help me find it. I can't find it either. I can only say that I am very surprised now. Teacher Shui can't even find which building his house is. Can people really drink like this? Holding teacher Shui, I looked around and found that the building in front of us was the building number 5 that teacher Shui mentioned, and the door opposite was the door of unit 3. Teacher Shui, I'll help you up. I put one of teacher Shui's arms on my neck, put my hand around teacher Shui's waist, and felt the stimulation brought to me by teacher Shui's slender waist. I stepped carefully and walked towards the entrance of the building. The door of the building was open, and I held teacher Shui and walked up directly. I started to feel a little tired after just one floor. After all, I also drank alcohol, and I must not be in a good mental state. Fortunately, I was hugging the beautiful teacher upstairs, and the fragrance of it could barely make up for the lack of physical strength. Many times, spiritual food is greater than material, right? Women are often the spiritual food of men. Finally, I came to the fourth floor, and I felt relieved, and teacher Shwe seemed to relax because she saw the door of her house. Her head slightly tilted into my arms, and it seemed that she was going to sleep. Teacher Shwe, don't sleep yet. Give me the key. You can sleep after you go in, okay? I freed one hand and touched teacher Shwe's head lightly. Don't touch me. The key is in my bag. Go find it yourself. Teacher Shwe said vaguely. I am very helpless now, but there is nothing I can do facing this sexy black silk beauty teacher. I can only use one hand to find the key from teacher Shwe's bag with difficulty. After finding the key and opening the door of the room, I helped teacher Shwe walk in. There was no light in the room, it was quite dim, so I fumbled around the walls. Finally, I touched the switch and pressed it. The room was instantly bright. The room is a 3-bedroom and 2 living room type. It looks like it should be about 150 square meters, which is also a relatively large house. Water, I want to drink water. Teacher Shwe shouted for water as soon as she entered the house. Teacher Shwe, which room do you live in? I'll help you in first and then find you some water. I gradually felt a little tired while helping teacher Shwe. The one connected to the balcony. Teacher Shwe said in a low voice. I looked around and found that the only room connected to the balcony was the one in front, so I helped teacher Shwe walk straight to the room in front. Pushing open the door of the room and turning on the lights, the romantic red elements filled the whole room. Not only are most of the decorations in the room red, but even the lights are red. After a moment of hesitation, I immediately helped teacher Shwe walk to the bed. After finally helping teacher Shwe onto the bed and helping teacher Shwe straighten her body, I was relieved. Water, I want to drink water. Teacher Shwe asked for water again. I looked around the room and found a cup for drinking water on the bedside table, so I picked up the cup and went outside to find a kettle to pour some water for teacher Shwe. The water temperature was just right, not too hot or too cold, so I immediately walked to the bedroom with the cup. However, as soon as I walked into the bedroom, I found that teacher Shwe was lying on the ground. I quickly put the cup down and walked over to help teacher Shwe up. I want water. Teacher Shwe was still calling for water. Teacher Shwe, I brought you water, you should go to the bed first. I was about to pick up teacher Shwe, but suddenly found a pool of filth on the ground. Teacher Shwe, did you vomit again? I looked at teacher Shwe with a slightly tangled expression. I feel uncomfortable, I want to drink water. Teacher Shwe did not answer me. Looking at the pool of stuff on the ground, I also had an urge to vomit, but I finally resisted my urge and picked up teacher Shwe and carried her to the bed. After carrying teacher Shwe to the bed, I went to get the water cup. When I was about to ask teacher Shwe to drink water, she suddenly said, "Help me take off my stockings, I feel it's wet and uncomfortable." Oh. I was stunned for a moment, and then my eyes looked at teacher Shwe's legs as if I was addicted. Teacher Shwe's legs were spread wide on the bed, obviously in a splayed position. Tempting, absolutely tempting, now I have a criminal mentality. There is something dirty on the stockings, help me take it off. Teacher Shwe said again in a daze. Dirty. I resisted the desire to commit a crime and looked at the stockings carefully. Sure enough, I soon found vomit on the stockings on the inside of teacher Shwe's thighs. Teacher Shwe, I will help you take it off, you don't mind. Although I was in a very urgent mood, in order to avoid trouble tomorrow, I still tentatively asked teacher Shwe. Help me take off my stockings, take it off. Teacher Shwe still said in a daze. Since teacher Shwe asked me to help her take off her stockings again and again, I had to help her, even if I had to sacrifice my own moral integrity, I had to help teacher Shwe, right? Maybe because I drank a little and got the permission from teacher Shwe, I seemed particularly bold. The hands that were destined to harm many girls slowly touched the root of teacher Shwe's thighs. Of course, there was still a little distance from that place. It's so itchy, there's a bug, help me catch it. Teacher Shwe said vaguely. I didn't pay attention to teacher Shwe's words, and my hands continued to parade around the root of teacher Shwe's thighs. The little prince couldn't help it again and was ready to draw his gun and roar, and my heart beat faster because I was too excited. Tonkai, 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 tonkai. Yes, that's the rhythm. Are you going to help me take it off or not? Teacher Shue shouted again while I was still excited. I tried hard to hold back my excitement, swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said to Teacher Shue, "Take it off now, I'll help you take it off now." While speaking, my hand had already been placed on the sock opening of the stockings, and after pulling up the edge, I slowly pulled it down. As the stockings were slowly taken off, a pair of white, tender and smooth long legs appeared in my eyes. It was the first time I saw Teacher Shue's long legs without stockings, and I felt that my breath was a little difficult to control. It's not that I haven't seen women's legs before, but it's really the first time I've seen Teacher Shue's long legs that are as perfect as her face. I was so excited that I couldn't help it. My little prince was ready to go straight to Wanlong, and in the struggle in my heart, gradually gained the upper hand. What reason, at this time, had gradually begun to lose its position in my consciousness. One of my hands began to touch Teacher Shue's thighs, while the other hand continued to complete the task of helping Teacher Shue take off her stockings. One pair of stockings had been taken off, and the free hand began to touch the stockings on the other leg. The hand that was touching was still touching, but the position of the touch was getting higher and higher, almost reaching the position of their. Things had come to this point, and I had no way to control myself. I am not a god, I am just an ordinary person, and everyone has desires. The consequences are not important at this time. What is important is that my lower body tells me that I want to have sex with Teacher Shue. Chapter 7, Teacher, are you sure you want to kiss me? I want to drink water. Teacher Shue struggled to get up and reached for the water cup on the bedside table just after taking off the other pair of stockings. I quickly threw the stockings on the ground and picked up the water cup from the bedside table. Teacher Shue, sit down and don't move. I'll help you. I let Teacher Shue lean on the bed and held the cup to Teacher Shue's mouth. Teacher Shue opened her mouth, I put the cup to Teacher Shue's mouth, and then slowly lifted the cup up a little. The water flowed into Teacher Shue's mouth and was drunk by Teacher Shue. Teacher Shue drank a glass of water quickly. I was not surprised by this because I was drunk before, and I also understood the dry lips and the desire to drink water after being drunk. Xiaolong, thank you for your care. I'm going to sleep. There are 2 bedrooms. You can choose one to sleep. Teacher Shue looked much better after drinking the water. At least his consciousness was clear. I knew that my chance was gone, mainly because of Teacher Shue's sobriety. I didn't have the courage. I covered Teacher Shue with a blanket and walked out of Teacher Shue's bedroom. I went to the bathroom first, and then came to another room. Turning on the light in the room, looking at the empty room, I walked to the bed and sat down. The desire in my heart was still difficult to calm down, but what could I do? There was no way. I was a person with a very lustful heart, but I was not so bold at the critical moment. I could only be lustful, but lust made people more difficult to endure, especially the level of the little prince who had never really fought. Lust was lust, and sleep was still necessary. I drank so much wine and stayed up so late, my body was tired. Lying on the bed, with deep lust in my mind, I slowly fell asleep. I didn't know when I slept. Anyway, I was woken up by Teacher Shue before dawn. At that time, I felt someone calling me, and my subconscious woke me up. When I opened my eyes, I found that Teacher Shue was sitting at the head of my bed wrapped in a bath towel. Shue. Teacher Shue. I quickly sat up from the bed. Xiaolong, there is something I don't know whether to say or not. Teacher Shue said a little embarrassedly. What is it? I asked Teacher Shue. Nothing, I just want you to do me a favor. Teacher Shue said. It's okay, Teacher Shue, just tell me what you want me to do for you, as long as I can do it, I will definitely do it for you. I said excitedly. Teacher Shue asked me for help, isn't this obviously an opportunity? I just think, oh, I can't explain it to you clearly at the moment, you come with me to my bedroom, and you will understand it naturally when the time comes. Teacher Shue stood up and looked at me with expectation in her eyes. My little heart beat a little too fast in that moment. Teacher Shue asked me to follow her to her bedroom. This favor is not to ask me to contribute some sperm so that she can get pregnant with a big fat boy, right? Teacher Shue is still waiting for my answer. I am embarrassed to spend all my time on yin, so I nodded gently and said, okay, then Teacher Shue, you go first, I will go there later. Well, then I will go there first. Teacher Shue nodded, turned around and left the room with a haggard face. What is going on with Teacher Shue? I don't understand, and I don't want to think about it at this time. I will know when the time comes. Why think so much now? Fortunately, I didn't take off my clothes when I went to bed. I looked for the phone on the bed, put it in my trouser pocket after finding it, and then got out of bed, put on my shoes and went to Teacher Shue's room. At this time, Teacher Shue was obviously fully awake. When I came in, she was leaning on the bed with her legs hugged, thinking about something, with a melancholy expression on her face. Teacher Shue, what's the matter with you? Can you tell me now? I asked. Teacher Shue raised her head and then looked at me. Xiaolong, I can't sleep. Can we chat? Teacher Shue didn't answer my question, but said this. I was stunned for a moment, and then said, sure, Teacher Shue, if you have anything to say, just say it, I will be a loyal listener. I thought Teacher Shue must have something on his mind and wanted to talk to someone, so he said this. You misunderstood, I just want to chat with you. Teacher Shue forced a smile from his face and said. That's fine, what do you want to talk about, Teacher Shue? I'll accompany you. I said with a smile. Teacher Shue smiled, lowered his head and thought for a while, then said, come to the bed, we can talk while sleeping, it will be more comfortable. What other reaction can I have when I hear Teacher Shue say this? What else can I do besides being stunned? The fact is indeed so, I was indeed stunned. Don't get me wrong. I just want to find someone to chat with, but it's not good to let you stand on the ground like this, so. Teacher Shue burst into laughter when she said this, are you thinking wrong? I was stunned by Teacher Shue's question. No, I didn't think wrong. Teacher Shue, you are a teacher and I am a student. We have the purest relationship. How could I think wrong? I walked to the other side of the bed with a smile, took off my shoes and got on the bed. There is only one quilt, so you can just cover it with it. These days, there are too many pure boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. I think we can be pure, right? Teacher Shue said with a smile. Yes, we are also a pure boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I smiled and got into Teacher Shue's quilt, then leaned on the bed. We started chatting quickly, and I realized that Teacher Shue really didn't have anything on her mind. She just wanted to find someone to chat with, because the content of her chat was all kinds of strange things from all over the world. I had seen and heard of things that I hadn't heard of. During this chat, she talked about everything. We chatted for more than an hour, and the sky gradually brightened. It was 6:30, and there was still an hour and a half before class. But at this time, I was not so anxious. I had skipped classes a long time ago, so I was not afraid of anything. Besides, there was a beautiful woman around to chat with, so why would I worry about such a few things? Xiaolong, who do you think is more lustful, men or women? Just when I was used to chatting about all kinds of things, Teacher Shue suddenly asked me such a question. I looked at Teacher Shue in surprise, and I couldn't believe why Teacher Shue asked such a question. Teacher Shue seemed to see my surprise, and chuckled and said, don't get me wrong, I'm a psychology student, I just want to know the psychology of men and women in all aspects. Oh, so that's the case. I breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, if we talk about this issue, it is undeniable that women are more lustful. Why do you say that? This time it was Teacher Shue's turn to be surprised. This problem is actually very simple. Take clothing for example. Men's clothing styles are more conservative, while you women wear whatever you want to wear. Isn't it obvious that you are seducing us men? Do you know why men always molest women? That's because you women seduce first, and you wear revealing clothes. It would be strange if men don't molest you. In the final analysis, if you women don't seduce, we men won't molest you women. The root cause has actually come out, that is, you women, so I conclude that you women are more lustful than men. I boasted for a while, and it really felt a little bit good. After all, I have also vindicated us men, right? Har, your theory is really amazing. Teacher Shue said with a smile. Just as Teacher Shue finished speaking, I was about to continue what Teacher Shue said when a cell phone rang in the room, but it was not my ringtone, it should be Teacher Shue's cell phone. Teacher Shue picked up the phone and took a look, then threw the phone on the bedside table. After that, Teacher Shue fell silent. The atmosphere seemed a bit weird, and I was a little confused. I didn't know what happened to Teacher Shue all of a sudden. Shue. Before I said the word teacher, Teacher Shue suddenly turned around and covered my mouth with one hand. Have you ever kissed? Teacher Shue asked me. I was stunned, really stunned. Teacher Xue actually asked me this question, how could I answer it? No. I shook my head and said. Do you want to try it? Teacher Xue said. Teacher Xue's eyes were very clear, and I could see my image from her eyeballs, but my mind was already in a mess. Teacher Xue actually wanted to kiss me. Am I sure I wasn't dreaming? Kiss. Is this real? Chapter 8, so this is it. Why, don't you want to? Teacher Xue and I looked at each other. For a moment, I didn't know how to reply to Teacher Xue's words. Then come on. Teacher Xue closed her eyes after she finished speaking. I looked at Teacher Xue's fiery lips, then looked at Teacher Xue's eyes, and finally made up my mind. I turned over from the bed and pressed Teacher Xue under my body. Don't. Teacher Xue pushed me with her hands, but the movements of her hands and body soon froze, and finally she slowly put her hands on the bed. Teacher Xue, what's wrong with you? I didn't continue to move, and asked Teacher Xue with my hands on the bed. Nothing, you continue. Teacher Xue said softly. My heart was a little confused. The current situation seemed like I was going to force Teacher Xue, which made me feel a little uneasy. Teacher Xue, if you have any questions, please tell me. I will help you. I looked at Teacher Xue, not knowing what was in Teacher Xue's mind. Come on, Teacher Xue has nothing on her mind. Teacher Xue's hand suddenly hugged my neck, and at the same time, her mouth came up and kissed me on the mouth before I could react. Yes, it was a kiss, not a kiss. There was only contact of lips, but no exchange of tongues. My concentration was not high to begin with, and at this time it was even less so. Even though I knew that Teacher Xue must have something on her mind, I could only follow my desire and kiss Teacher Xue. My hand hugged Teacher Xue from behind, and then slowly put Teacher Xue on the bed. We hugged each other and kissed each other's lips. Teacher Xue's lips had a sweet taste, which was very wonderful. I was very excited and very passionate. However, a real kiss is not just the intimate contact of lips, it also requires the exchange of tongue and saliva. I stretched my tongue out from my lips, wanting to put it into Teacher Xue's mouth and make a big fuss in Teacher Xue's mouth, but when my tongue stretched out, I found that Teacher Xue's teeth were tightly clenched together, as if unwilling to let my tongue go. I was already burning with desire. Of course I didn't want to give up. I rubbed Teacher Xue's teeth hard with my tongue, trying to find a gap to break through Teacher Xue's teeth and rush in. However, no matter how I impacted, Teacher Xue was always unwilling to open his teeth and unwilling to put my tongue in. Finally, I gave up the idea of breaking through this barrier, and my lips began to leave Teacher Xue's lips and kiss Teacher Xue's face. My lips slowly moved down, and my tongue left invisible wet marks on Teacher Xue's face. When my lips reached Teacher Xue's chin, Teacher Xue stretched out one hand and put it on my chin and pushed my chin up. Just kiss, okay. Teacher Xue opened his eyes and looked at me. I didn't say anything, but I was very anxious in my heart. I kissed Teacher Xue's lips again and put my tongue in again. Teacher Xue's teeth were still clenched, but this time she didn't resist for long. After I tried to enter several times, Teacher Xue finally loosened her teeth and put my tongue in. My mood reached the peak of excitement again. I controlled my tongue to wander around in Teacher Xue's mouth. I caught Teacher Xue's tongue and entangled with Teacher Xue's tongue. Teacher Xue seemed to be passionate at this time. I could feel it from her hands that were getting tighter and tighter around me. Passionate men and women, passionate bed scenes, of course, I don't know whether that bottom line can be touched. I feel that I have deeply integrated into the current scene. All the things in the outside world have nothing to do with me. In my eyes, there is only Teacher Xue, only Teacher Xue's fiery lips, and Teacher Xue's perfect body. At the beginning, my hands were relatively well behaved, but later, because of my hands became a little unconscious, and slowly touched Teacher Xue's chest and grabbed Teacher Xue's weapon. Because Teacher Xue was always wrapped in a bath towel, my hands accidentally tore off the bath towel wrapped around Teacher Xue. At this time, Teacher Xue was already naked, and a perfect female sexy body was presented in front of me. I was very excited, and the next step of the plan to break my virginity seemed to be a natural outcome. As long as I was willing, I could do it. I couldn't control myself anymore, and quickly climbed up from Teacher Xue's body. I began to untie my belt, ready to really have a big fight, and vent all the grievances I had suffered over the years. However, at this moment, the door of the room opened. I quickly turned my head and looked at the door. A middle-aged man in a suit in his 40s stood at the door in a daze, looking unbelievable. I stopped what I was doing and quickly wrapped the towel around Teacher Xue. Teacher Xue sat up slowly and leaned on the bed. Are you deliberately going against me, your father? The middle-aged man looked very calm. You are not my father, you are just my stepfather. Teacher Xue took her bag, took out a cigarette from it, and lit it for herself. The middle-aged man was stunned, and then said a little excitedly, Yes, I am not your biological father, but when you were 8 years old, you came to my house with your mother. I gave you food, shelter, and schooling. I gave you such good conditions. Is this how you repay me? You gave me food and shelter, I know all this, but, Teacher Xue's voice suddenly seemed to explode, you raised me just to sell me. That man is 10 years older than me, do you know? He is 10 years older than me. This is not the most important thing, the most important thing is that I don't like him at all. It doesn't matter if he's 10 years older than me, or if you like him or not. What matters is that he can let you continue to live a life of wealth and glory. My company is facing such a big difficulty now, only he can save us. The middle-aged man in a suit slammed the door with his fist. It's too late, everything is too late, that man is a pervert, he only likes virgins, I'm not a virgin anymore, he won't want me, your plan has failed. Teacher Xue took a puff of cigarette and blew out a smoke ring from his mouth. Hearing Teacher Xue's words, I finally understood everything. It turned out that Teacher Xue was using me. I felt a little disappointed, but I didn't hate Teacher Xue, because Teacher Xue also had her own suffering. What, you gave your body to this kid? The middle-aged man in a suit came over angrily. I thought he was going to harm me, so I was ready to fight him. However, the man in a suit didn't do anything to me after he came to the bed. He grabbed the sheet covering Teacher Xue's body with his hand, and then pulled the sheet over fiercely. The sheet was gone, and Teacher Xue's perfect body appeared in front of me again, but now the most surprising thing was not Teacher Xue's body, but the bloodstains on the sheet. I widened my eyes and couldn't believe it. I swear I never touched the bottom line, but what about the bloodstains on the bed? HMPH. The middle-aged man threw the sheet in his hand to the ground fiercely. You shameless thing, get out of here quickly, get out of here, this is my house, not yours, you leave immediately, you are right, I am not your father, and I don't have a daughter like you. HMPH, I don't want to stay in this place for a long time, I will leave here, but before I leave here, please get out first, otherwise I will sue you for molesting a girl. Teacher Xue was smoking a cigarette and didn't even want to look at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man stamped his feet fiercely, then turned and walked out. Before leaving, the middle-aged man said, I will come over in the afternoon. I hope you won't appear in my sight at that time. Also, don't forget that the car is also mine. Chapter 9, Challenge the #1 debate club of Red Star. Mr. Xue's stepfather went out just like that. I stared at the door blankly. Such a sudden change made my little heart a little bit unable to bear it. Go out now. Mr. Xue pointed to the door and said to me. I looked at Mr. Xue, wanted to speak but didn't say it. I got off the bed silently and walked out of Mr. Xue's room. When I went out, I closed the door of Mr. Xue's room. I sat down on the sofa in the living room, and then took out a Hongtashan cigarette from my trouser pocket and lit one for myself. It was already dawn. I looked at the cigarette in my hand and was stunned silently. A cigarette burned out while I was stunned. Speaking of smoking, I actually only took 3 or 4 puffs. It is shameful to waste food, but it is not such a big problem to waste tobacco. It is good for the body to smoke less. Of course, I have never been a person who smokes less. Just at this time, the door of Mr. Xue's room opened, and Mr. Xue walked out of the room wearing a black dress with lace on the top and bottom. Why are you still here? Didn't I tell you to leave? Why are you still here? Get out of here. Teacher Xue said to me sternly. I felt a little uncomfortable, but I knew that Teacher Xue's mood must be worse than mine. So I didn't argue with Teacher Xue, but said to Teacher Xue very seriously, I won't leave, I'll stay and help you move things. I think you are going to laugh at me, right? Teacher Xue shouted loudly. I was frightened by Teacher Xue's words, and stood there staring at Teacher Xue. Maybe Teacher Xue felt that what she said was a bit too much, and after a while she said again, You go first, let me be alone, I can handle the moving of things by myself. But. You go. Let me be alone. Teacher Xue almost shouted at me. I was stunned for a moment, then turned to the door, opened the door and walked out. After going out, I stood at the door of the room, facing the door and standing quietly. I stood at the door for 5 minutes, and then went downstairs. When I came to the street and walked through the bustling crowd, the terrible conversation between Teacher Shui and her stepfather was always in my mind. Although Teacher Shui seemed to have used me, I didn't hate Teacher Shui. Or, did I really fall in love with Teacher Shui? I don't know this. I only know that I have been restless since I came out of Teacher Shui's room, and I don't know what I was thinking. I walked on the street for a while, and I don't know how. When I reacted, I was already on the bus, and the bus was about to arrive at the school. This happens when people are distracted. You will subconsciously do something, but in your consciousness, you feel that you should not have done this thing. The bus arrived at the school gate, I got off the bus, and then walked all the way to the dormitory. There was no one in the dormitory. They should have gone to class. I lay on the bed and pulled open the quilt to cover my head and wanted to fall asleep. However, no matter how hard I tried to fall asleep, I couldn't fall asleep. My mind was full of Teacher Shui's figure. I thought, I might really fall in love with Teacher Shui. Just like that, time soon came to noon, and those who went to class returned to the dormitory one by one. I kept covering my head. Although I knew they had arrived at the dormitory, I didn't make a sound. They thought I was asleep, so they didn't call me. However, just when I thought no one would disturb me, the dormitory door opened. Generally speaking, only Xiao Hua, that stinky bitch, could do this amazing way of entering the door. Sure enough, when I decided to continue pretending, the quilt was opened by someone. I opened my eyes and the first person I saw was Xiao Hua. Except for this guy, no one else had the courage to treat me so rudely when I was probably sleeping. I knew you were not asleep. Tell me, what did you do last night? Did you really hook up with our new female teacher? Xiao Hua looked at me with a smirk. Get lost, go wherever you want, it's none of your business whether I hook up or not. I said angrily. Of course it's none of my business, but yours is very serious. You missed your dorm last night, and those little bitches on the floor took your name. This is the 7th time you missed your dorm. If it happens again, you will have to leave this dormitory building. So, what I mean is, if you really hooked up with that beautiful teacher, let that beautiful teacher help you to speak for you, maybe you won't be recorded for missing your dorm this time. Xiao Hua said. I do want to hook up with that beautiful teacher, but I'm very embarrassed to tell you that I didn't hook up with that beautiful teacher. What I told you yesterday afternoon was a lie. After I finished speaking, I pulled the quilt and fell asleep again. I slept until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I got up and called Teacher Shui, but found that Teacher Shui's phone was turned off, so I had no choice. After getting up, I went to eat something casually, and then walked around the campus. The campus is a big campus, and it is also a very erotic campus. The chairs around the artificial lake are full of couples hugging each other, and some strange calls can be heard from time to time in the small woods behind. I don't know how long I walked. When I found myself standing at the door of the activity center, I began to pay attention to the situation inside the activity center. It seems that there is an activity in the activity center, so I pushed the door open and walked in. Standing at the back, I looked at the stage and found a few big words on the banner: Red Star Debate Society All School Tour Challenge. Challenge, Debate Society, this is worth watching. In fact, to put it bluntly, it is just bickering. There was a girl in formal clothes standing on the stage. Since I was standing at the back of the activity center, I couldn't see the girl's face clearly, but her figure should still look good. Of course, I just watched so much, and then I had to listen. I was upset and had to listen to others quarreling for a while before I could feel better. Is there anyone else who wants to come up and debate with me? If no one comes up, today's event will be over. Who else? Who else? The girl on the stage said to us standing below with a microphone. Are there any men left? Go up and beat this girl down. We men can't lose our reputation to this little girl, right? Someone in the audience suddenly shouted. I'm here to challenge you. I don't know what happened, but I chose to go up and argue with the girl. Because there were too many people in the activity center, most people didn't hear my voice, but the people around me did. These people immediately started to make a fuss and shouted for me to go up. Is there anyone challenging me? Then come up quickly, don't be like a coward. If you dare to be called, you must dare to go up, right? The girl on the stage shouted loudly with a microphone. I'm not a coward. I started to walk to the stage. The people in front of me slowly made way for me as if they were welcoming a leader. I walked forward calmly on the road that these people made way for me, and came to the stage. Standing on the stage, I finally saw the face of this girl clearly. This girl is called Wang Ruobing. She is a member of the Red Star Debating Club of the college. She often serves as the chairman of various debate competitions in the college. Of course, she is not only famous for this, but more importantly, she is also the school belle of our school. As the school belle of our school, there are a lot of boys chasing her, but she has never agreed to any of them. It's not that these boys are not good, but because her conditions are too harsh. If you want to win her favor, the first thing you must have is to beat her in the debate duel. Of course, the so-called debate duel here is not the formal 4-on-4 debate, but a debate between two people. Because she has never lost in a duel with others, she is still single so far. You want to challenge me? I'll let you can come up with the debate topic. Wang Ruobing said to the microphone. Chapter 10, The School Belle is Defeated. It can be seen that Wang Ruobing is still very arrogant. It seems that she has not lost for such a long time, and she has no longer taken other people in her eyes. I had no confidence against Wang Ruobing. But now seeing her arrogant look, I felt a little bit unconvinced. We are all human beings, and we all have a mouth. Why are you more awesome than me? You don't need to let me follow the rules. I took the microphone from a backstage staff and said to Wang Ruobing. Okay. The audience below booed. You are a little crazy, but today's rules are made by me. I want you to come up with questions now. You can come up with whatever you want. After Wang Ruobing finished speaking, she tilted her eyes upwards with a little contempt. I was also a little angry, but since she asked me to come up with questions, I didn't hesitate anymore. After thinking about it for a while, I finally had a topic in my mind. I smiled gently, and said to Wang Ruobing with a little bit of evil, you still have a chance to regret now. If you regret it now, maybe you still have a chance. If you insist on asking me to ask questions, don't regret it. What should I regret? You should regret it. I want you to regret going on stage. Wang Ruobing said proudly. To be honest, when Wang Ruobing spoke, there was such an aura emanating from her body. This aura was the emanation of Wang Ruobing's temperament. In fact, I am a who can't raise my head in front of a woman with a higher temperament, but I don't know what happened today. I seem particularly tough. Regret or not, it's still uncertain now. If you really have decided to let me ask questions, then I will ask questions. I looked at Wang Ruobing with a sly smile. A trace of disgust flashed in Wang Ruobing's eyes. I knew that the impression I left in front of her was not good, but I didn't care. Although you are a school beauty, I don't like you. What's the use of you being beautiful? Don't waste time. If you want to come up with a question, just do it now. If you can't even come up with a question, then get off the stage. Wang Ruobing said naturally. Okay, then listen carefully, I'm going to come up with a question. I walked up on the stage and walked to the other side of Wang Ruobing. I'm listening. Wang Ruobing was still as steady as a rock. The topic is, I deliberately dragged out my voice, Wang Ruobing, should you fall in love? As soon as I said this, the people below laughed and started to make a noise. I'm sorry, your topic involves my personal, so I can't debate with you. Wang Ruobing hugged his hands to his chest and turned his head to say. In the debate arena, you are no longer yourself, you are just a debater, don't you know? I said loudly, and then looked at the audience below. I continued, everyone, do you think this topic is okay? Most of the people below were interested in this topic, and as soon as I said it, they immediately started to make a noise. Okay, let's debate this topic. The people below shouted in unison. Wang Ruobing didn't use the microphone, you are too despicable. Such tricks are useless. Debates require openness and fairness. What kind of ability do you have? Since Wang Ruobing didn't use the microphone, only I could hear her voice. I smiled, then picked up the microphone, put it under my mouth and said, just now our school beauty classmate said that debates require openness and fairness, and said that I used despicable means. Tell me, did I do it? No. The people below shouted in unison. Humph. Wang Ruobing seemed really angry. She took the microphone and said, since everyone agrees that this debate topic is good, then let's debate this topic, but I have to choose the position first. Sure, you can choose any position you want. I said with a smile. Okay, I will choose that Wang Ruobing should not fall in love. Of course, after choosing this position, I will change your debate topic. Your debate topic needs to add a time limit, which is the college stage. After Wang Ruobing finished speaking, he did not wait for my consent, and distanced himself from me and walked to the other side of the stage, forming a confrontation with me. Okay, I agree. Since you chose that Wang Ruobing should not have a relationship in college, then I choose that Wang Ruobing should have a relationship in college. After a pause, I continued, I am the affirmative party, so let me state my point of view first. I think that Wang Ruobing should have a relationship in college, because you are a person, and as a person, you should have emotional experience. Moreover, college is a place to experience life and connect with society. If you don't experience some of the things you should experience in this place, when you enter society in the future, even if you are eloquent, you will still achieve nothing without experience, especially in terms of love. If you have no experience, you are easy to be deceived, especially for a beautiful girl like you. There are many beasts who want to deceive you. So, I still think that Wang Ruobing should have a relationship. HMPH. Wang Ruobing snorted coldly, my opponent, I think your statement is problematic. You said that university is a place to learn social experience and connect with society, but why don't we learn something else, but have to learn how to fall in love? Did your family give you living expenses just to let you fall in love? Love is something that will come when it is supposed to come. To borrow a phrase, it is not that it does not come, but that the time has not come. Next, I want to state my point of view. I think Wang Ruobing should not fall in love in college, because there are still many things to do in college, and there are still many social circles to expand. Moreover, more importantly, we are a technical college with a lack of talents. There is no one suitable for Wang Ruobing at all. After Wang Ruobing finished speaking, he glared at me, which was a provocation. Automatically entering the questioning stage, I asked Wang Ruobing directly, my opponent, you just said that we are a technical college, with a lack of talent and no man suitable for you. Do you mean that all of us here are incompetent and no one can match you? My question was a bombshell. The people below immediately became chaotic, and they shouted loudly, asking Wang Ruobing for an explanation. I could see that Wang Ruobing, who was as steady as a rock just now, immediately became chaotic at this time. She picked up the microphone and repeatedly told the people below that it was not what she meant, but how could the people below listen to her explanation now? I laughed at the side, watching Wang Ruobing embarrassed, and felt particularly comfortable in my heart. You can be arrogant again. Wang Ruobing explained for a while, but the people below seemed to have not heard it at all, and they kept clamoring for an explanation. The scene was completely chaotic. At this time, a boy came up from the backstage, glared at me fiercely when he passed by me, and then walked to Wang Ruobing, comforting Wang Ruobing who was already feeling powerless, wanting to pull Wang Ruobing off the stage and leave this place quickly. Wang Ruobing obviously didn't want to explain anymore. She threw the microphone on the ground, and then walked towards me. After Wang Ruobing came closer, I found that there were tears in the corners of Wang Ruobing's eyes. Obviously, this grievance was not small. Are you satisfied? Wang Ruobing said to me with a crying voice, and then walked away from me. At this moment, I suddenly felt a little guilty in my heart, a little sorry for Wang Ruobing. After all, she was just a girl, and it was really a bit bad to let her get off the stage like this. But things have come to this, and I have no choice. After Wang Ruobing left safely, I also left this place of right and wrong quickly. When I returned to the dormitory, it was already 7 o'clock. My roommates had gone to the evening self-study class, and I was the only one staying in the dormitory. As a veteran of skipping classes, I now skipped the evening self-study class as well. I studied in the dormitory for a while, and I didn't know when I fell asleep. When I woke up, my roommates had already returned to the dormitory. After saying hello to my roommates, I took out my mobile phone and suddenly found that there were more than a dozen strange missed calls on my phone, and even a text message. I opened the text message and was shocked by the content inside. I'm in the KTV opposite the school, come to me, for PAX. The text message was not signed, and I didn't know who it was, but I seemed to be able to feel that the person who sent this text message must be a woman. Could it be Teacher Shui? I seemed to wake up, and immediately turned over from the bed, put on my clothes and started to run out. Chapter 11, Drunk and Charming School Beauty. The floor manager was about to lock the door, and when he saw me, he immediately yelled at me, asking me to stop. I pushed the floor manager away, ignored him, and walked out of the building. I walked out so far that I could even hear the floor managers yelling. It would take at least 10 minutes to walk from the dormitory to the school gate on normal days, but today I only took 5 minutes to get there. The KTV mentioned in the text message is opposite the school. I crossed the road and came to the KTV. KTV is still very popular now, and even the hall has been booked. Judging from their clothes and appearance, they should be students from the school who stay out all night and make trouble here. I am quite familiar with this KTV, and of course I know the location of the fourth box. When I arrived at the door of the fourth box, I calmed down my excitement and pushed open the door of the box. No one in the box. I looked inside and found a person lying on the sofa in the box. The person had her back to me, so I couldn't see her face clearly, but from her back, I was sure that this person was definitely not Teacher Shui. I had a question in my mind: who else could this person be if not Teacher Shui? I walked over slowly and accidentally bumped into a wine bottle. I looked down and saw at least 6 empty bottles under the table. Drinking 6 bottles alone is already very impressive for an ordinary girl. I walked forward again and came to the side of the girl. I looked at her carefully from the front and then I recognized her. It turned out that the person who called me out was Wang Ruobing, who was embarrassed by me at the activity center today. She actually called me. I really couldn't figure out why. Was it because I defeated her and made her like me, and wanted to confess to me when she was drunk, or was she doing it to me at this time and directly raping me? Thinking of this, I couldn't help but tremble, but soon I woke up again. I often fantasized about sex, and the result is now like this. When something happens, I fantasize about sex first. I looked at Wang Ruobing's face, and I have to say that the school beauty's face is beautiful and flawless, and it is impossible not to love her. Slowly, maybe because I have been looking at her for a long time, I gradually had that kind of abnormal thought, and my saliva was about to burst out of my mouth. At this moment, Wang Ruobing opened her eyes, she saw me, and stared at me with her eyes. "You are drunk, I will take you home." I was stared at by her all the time, and I was a little nervous, so I said such words. "Asshole, hooligan. I hate you, I want to kill you." Wang Ruobing suddenly seemed to explode, turned over from the sofa, and waved her little pink fist to hit me. I quickly grabbed Wang Ruobing's fist, and said with some restlessness in my heart, "It's just a game, if you lose, it's nothing, don't care." "Asshole." Wang Ruobing was not willing to listen to me, and she was still unwilling to let me go with her little hand. Listen to my explanation. I admit that I used despicable means. Otherwise, how about you win? I grabbed Wang Ruobing's hand and said to her with a little bit of nervousness, "I don't need your sympathy. I hate you, hate you." Wang Ruobing yelled at me with tears in her eyes, "I won't forget you. You know women's means. I will do everything I can to embarrass you. I will take revenge." Okay, how do you want to take revenge? Take it now. If you think hitting me twice can make you feel better, then hit me. Hit me. I will never fight back. I let go of Wang Ruobing's hand and stood in front of her, waiting for her to hit me. Wang Ruobing seemed to be stunned and said nothing. "I don't want to hit you, that's meaningless." After a long time, Wang Ruobing slowly sat on the sofa. "No matter what means you used, I still lost in the end." Wang Ruobing looked at the wine on the table with a little bit of emptiness in her eyes. After a while, she said, "You are the first man to defeat me. Although the means are despicable, I still have to admit that you won." I looked straight at Wang Ruobing, not knowing what to say, so I could only listen to her. "You know, I have never lost, whether it is a man or a woman, whether it is a duel between two people or a team to play a formal debate, I have never lost." Wang Ruobing cried as she said this. I can understand Wang Ruobing's mood at this time. After all, she has never lost, and her state of mind has long been very high. She thinks she is a proud daughter of heaven, but this sudden defeat completely defeated her. People who often fail are not afraid of failure, but people who have never failed, a single failure may crush her. I asked you to come here today just to drink with you, but I couldn't control myself. I got angry when I saw you and wanted to hit you. After a pause, Wang Ruobing continued, "But there is no point in hitting you now. I just want to invite you, as the actual person in charge of the Red Star Debate Club, to join our Red Star Debate Club and prepare with us for the Jincheng debate competition to be held in Lanzhou next May. Do you think this is okay?" I have heard of the Jincheng debate competition. The reason why the Red Star Debate Club is so domineering and arrogant in the college is because it defeated the undergraduate school and entered the top 8 during the Jincheng debate competition and became famous. If it was in the past, I might still be a little interested in this, but now, I am no longer so interested. I am a junior and will graduate next year. I guess I will graduate after the Jincheng debate competition. There is not much meaning in joining the Red Star Debate Club now. You don't want to? Wang Ruobing saw that I didn't speak for a long time, so he said to me. I'm sorry, I don't have that much time to prepare for your debate. I shook my head and said. Sun Xiaolong. Wang Ruobing suddenly stood up as if he was about to explode. Don't think that you are really great just because you defeated me once. I tell you, there are many people who are better than me in the Jincheng debate competition. Don't think that you can be invincible just because you defeated me. No, that's not what I mean, but I really have no interest in this. I explained to Wang Ruobing. I don't care whether you are interested or not, I will give you 3 days to consider, and I will come to you for the result after 3 days. Wang Ruobing said angrily, then took a bottle of wine on the table, opened it and poured it into a large cup, and then prepared to drink it. I quickly stopped Wang Ruobing. You are already drunk, you can't drink anymore. You don't need to pretend to be a good person here, my body is my own, I can drink as much as I want, you have no right to control it. Wang Ruobing shook off my hand and said angrily. I knew I couldn't stop Wang Ruobing, so I stood up, took a bottle of wine from the table, and opened the lid. Wang Ruobing looked at me blankly, holding the wine in her hand but not drinking it. If you want to drink, let me drink with you. I touched the bottle in my hand with the cup in Wang Ruobing's hand, then brought it to my mouth and poured it into my stomach. After I finished drinking a bottle of wine, I looked at Wang Ruobing, but found that the cup in Wang Ruobing's hand was still full, and the wine in it was not drunk at all. Wang Ruobing looked at me blankly, and when she found that I had finished drinking and was staring at her, she reacted, and then picked up the cup in her hand and drank it slowly. It is said that people in the Red Star Debate Society can drink. Now it seems that it is true. Although she has drunk a lot, Wang Ruobing is still so painful when she drinks, which makes me have to give her a thumbs up. Wang Ruobing quickly drank up the wine in the glass. As soon as she put the glass down, she stood up and ran out quickly. I quickly followed her out and found that Wang Ruobing went to the bathroom. It was not convenient for me to go into the ladies' bathroom, so I walked back and sat on the sofa. Wang Ruobing drank a little too much, and it was time to clean her intestines. Thinking about what happened at the activity center today, I found that I really went a little too far. No matter what, Wang Ruobing is just a girl. The fact that she has never lost shows that she is strong. I shouldn't use such despicable means to deal with such a girl. Chapter 12, Take the School Beauty to a Hotel. I waited in the box for a while, but Wang Ruobing didn't come back. I was a little worried, so I stood up and prepared to go to the bathroom to find Wang Ruobing. At this time, the door of the box opened, and Wang Ruobing stumbled in. She fell to the ground after just a few steps. I hurried over and helped Wang Ruobing up. Don't worry about me, I'm not drunk yet, come, let's drink together. Wang Ruobing insisted on drinking, and I had no choice but to accompany Wang Ruobing to drink a few bottles of wine. We drank until 1 o'clock in the morning, and Wang Ruobing was already drunk and unconscious. I helped her out. It was definitely impossible to get into the dormitory. Fortunately, there was a hotel opposite the school, so I helped Wang Ruobing to this hotel. The school is in the suburbs, where there are few people. The purpose of this hotel is actually to satisfy the school's couples to enhance their feelings and have sex. When I helped Wang Ruobing to their hotel, the waiter looked at me with surprise. Wang Ruobing was a school beauty. People in the school and many people near the school knew her. The waitress might also know Wang Ruobing. Of course, she was surprised that Wang Ruobing and I were together. Open 2 single rooms. I handed over my ID card, and found Wang Ruobing's ID card from her bag and handed it to the waitress. Sorry, there is only 1 single room now, with a big bed. The waitress specifically said a big bed. I was a little surprised for a moment. After looking at Wang Ruobing, who was drunk and didn't know anything, I said to the waiter, "Do you have a double room?" "Yes, there are double rooms." The waiter said to me with a smile. "Then open a double room for us and a single room." I took out my wallet and prepared to pay. Okay, the waiter took the ID card, but the look in his eyes seemed a little unbelievable. as if Wang Ruobing and I should live in the same room. A single room, a double room, and the deposit together, the total is 350 yuan. The waiter said to me after typing on the computer for a while. My hand, which was about to take out the money, stopped in an instant. There was only 300 yuan in the wallet. Where could I find the extra 50 yuan? Wang Ruobing was drunk again and didn't know anything. Besides, it seemed a bit embarrassing for us men to let a woman pay. Then you should open a double room for me, I said after hesitating for a while. Including the deposit, the total is 200 yuan. The waiter said to me. I handed the money to the waiter, and the waiter typed on the computer for a while, then handed me the receipt and key. 5th floor, room 505. The waiter said. I nodded, and then helped Wang Ruobing walk upstairs. Because there was no elevator, I could only help Wang Ruobing walk with difficulty. The 5th floor was high, and when I reached the 3rd floor, I felt that I couldn't walk at all. Let's sit down first. I helped Wang Ruobing and let her sit on the steps, and then I sat down next to Wang Ruobing. As soon as I sat down, Wang Ruobing fell into my arms and fell asleep in my arms. I felt my heart beating wildly. The one lying in my arms now was the school beauty, the object of pursuit of many celebrities in the school. Now she was lying in my arms. If those guys in the school knew, I don't know how much they would envy me. Wang Ruobing's clothes were relatively fresh compared to other girls on campus, especially today. She was wearing jeans, which was completely different from the scene of showing her thighs in the activity center in the afternoon. I felt a little pity. If Wang Ruobing still showed her thighs at this time, how great it would be. I could touch Wang Ruobing's thighs, right? Yin can't last long, not to mention that we are still on the stairs. After a while, I felt that I could walk, so I helped Wang Ruobing up again. This time, I helped Wang Ruobing up to the 5th floor in one breath. After finding room 505, I took out the key and opened the door of the room. There were 2 beds and a bathroom in the room. The conditions were much better than the room I lived in with my girlfriend in high school. I helped Wang Ruobing walk in and helped her to the bed inside. Wang Ruobing fell asleep immediately after lying on the bed, with her legs spread wide, naked in a tempting 8 shape. I sat down on another bed and took a rest. While resting, I suddenly saw that Wang Ruobing's shoes were not taken off. In this place, helping Wang Ruobing take off her clothes and pants was a thing to be done, but taking off her shoes should still be helped. I walked over and took off Wang Ruobing's low-heeled shoes. After taking off my shoes, I felt that I couldn't help myself. What the hell, I was wearing stockings inside. Although compared with those long stockings, these ordinary stockings are not very tempting, but for me, who is in absolute stocking control, I can't control myself as long as I see stockings. This is a temptation, the temptation of the drunk school beauty to me. I can't help it. The little prince stood up quickly and was ready for battle. My hand slowly touched Wang Ruobing's stockings. The smoothness reminded me of the shampoo advertisement, soft and smooth, this is the feeling you want. Yes, this is the feeling I want, this feeling is really wonderful. After touching for a while, when my was completely burning, I began to divert my attention and focused on Wang Ruobing's flawless face. Looking at her face and her red lips, I couldn't stop myself from wanting to kiss her. My mouth slowly approached Wang Ruobing and finally kissed Wang Ruobing's lips. I rubbed back and forth for a while, and the lightness on Wang Ruobing's lips made me unable to refuse my desire. I put my tongue in and slowly stirred it in Wang Ruobing's mouth. There was a sweet feeling, really a sweet feeling, this feeling was very refreshing and comfortable. My hand wandered on Wang Ruobing's body, and slowly touched Wang Ruobing's chest. I gently rubbed it twice, and then put my hand under the clothes and touched Wang Ruobing's bra. Because of the bra, I couldn't touch the skin on Wang Ruobing's chest. I was a little unsatisfied, but at this time Wang Ruobing had already shown signs of waking up. I didn't dare to mess around anymore. My little hand reluctantly left Wang Ruobing's bra, and my lips also gave up continuing to touch Wang Ruobing. I quickly returned to my bed and lay down. Wang Ruobing really opened her eyes, looked at me lying on the bed, and closed her eyes again. A drunk person actually has a clear mind, but sometimes, even if he knows something, he will be too lazy to say it. Even though she has seen me sleeping in the same room with her, the drunken reaction made her lazy. She was unwilling to ask me why I slept here, because this question is not the most important question now, the most important question is that I feel uncomfortable physically. I drank a lot of wine, and I fell asleep quickly when I lay on the bed at this time, and I didn't know anything when I slept. When I woke up the next day, I was the only one left in the room, and Wang Ruobing had left. I looked at the time and found that it was still early, and it was not time for class yet. I wanted to skip class and continue sleeping, but I habitually picked up the phone and called my roommate Xiao Huer to ask him what class he had today. Xiao Huer answered the phone, and the boy seemed to be very interested. I asked him where he was, and he replied that he was in the lecture hall. I asked him what the first class was today, and his answer immediately made me energetic. The first class is psychology. It is said that the new beauty will teach us. We are all in the lecture hall now, waiting for the beautiful teacher. You are the only one who is planning to skip class, Xiao Huer said. After hearing Xiao Huer's words, I jumped off the bed immediately, hung up the phone, washed up casually, and then ran to the school. Chapter 13, I like Teacher Shui. It was exactly 8 o'clock when I entered the school gate. The class time had arrived, but I did not stop, but ran towards the teaching building. When I arrived at the teaching building, it was already 8:10, and I was 10 minutes late. Xiao Huer had just told me that the classroom for class was the East Lecture Hall, so I walked directly to the door of the East Lecture Hall and pushed open the door. Everyone's eyes were attracted to me, and my opening the door was really a bit too rude. I walked in and looked at the podium, and found that the person standing on the podium was Teacher Shui. Today, she was still so sexy, wearing a black miniskirt and black stockings, and her temptation was still undiminished. Teacher Shui was obviously a little stunned, and I was standing there, not knowing what to do. After a long time, I finally seemed to have come to my senses and said to Teacher Shui with guilt, "Sorry, teacher, I'm late." Teacher Shui was stunned for a while, then said to me, "Go sit down." I nodded, looked at Teacher Shui again, and then walked to the back. "Okay, let's continue the class." While I was still walking to the back, Teacher Shui had already started the class again. Because psychology is a public class, it is usually taught by several classes together, so there are many people sitting in the tiered classroom. I walked to the middle and back position and found an empty seat next to it. Seeing the empty seat, just when I was about to sit up, I suddenly found that the person sitting next to the empty seat was Wang Ruobing. Wang Ruobing and I are not in the same class, and I didn't expect that her class would be in the same class with our class today. I wanted to find another place to sit, but since I was already here, I was embarrassed to leave, so I sat up and sat in the empty seat. "Good morning." Wang Ruobing didn't look back at me, but her voice had reached my ears. "You too," I said, and then looked towards the podium. At this time, Wang Ruobing moved her book towards me and shared the textbook with me. "Thank you," I whispered, and then paid attention to Teacher Shui on the podium again. Teacher Shui looked refreshed, her temperament remained unchanged, and in terms of mentality, Teacher Shui was also talking and laughing, as if those annoying troubles did not have much impact on Teacher Shui. Today is the first psychology class that Teacher Shui gave us, and the content is about love. I heard it very clearly, but it can be summed up in one sentence: marriage is based on reality, and the basis of reality is money. I listened very attentively, but I didn't notice the note that Wang Ruobing passed to me next to me. After Teacher Shui talked for a while, during the break, I found the note that Wang Ruobing sent to me on my desk. I looked at Wang Ruobing and found that she was staring at the book. Although she seemed to be very focused, I could still see that her attention should be on the note. After hesitating for a while, I opened the note and read it. Wang Ruobing's handwriting is very beautiful. It really is true that the handwriting reflects the person. What do you think about what I told you last night? These words were written on Wang Ruobing's note. I thought about it and replied on the note, "I really have no interest in debate. I will not join the Red Star Debate Society. I hope you can understand." After writing it, I read it several times and thought about it seriously before putting the note on Wang Ruobing's book. After putting the note away, I once again focused my eyes on Teacher Shui. Teacher Shui had come down from the podium and walked among the beasts, chatting with them. In fact, these guys are just like me, the kind of people who can't help but want to hook up after seeing a beautiful woman, especially Xiao Huer, because he had a psychological consultation yesterday. It seems that he feels familiar with Teacher Shui, and he keeps talking about mountains with Teacher Shui. I have been staring at Teacher Shui. I don't believe that Teacher Shui will keep chatting with them without staring at me. Finally, I saw Teacher Shui looking at me, but maybe because she saw me looking at her, her eyes quickly swept past me. I lowered my head and found another note on the table. I opened the note, and the content inside was, "Since you don't want to join our Red Star Debate Society, then I won't force you, but I hope you can remember that I will return the shame of yesterday." Seeing such a reply, I laughed. I didn't reply, I just crumpled the note and put it in my pocket. After I put the note in my pocket, Wang Ruobing looked over at me, staring at me with a sharp look, as if he wanted to kill me. At this time, the intermission was over, and Teacher Shui started teaching again. I smiled at Wang Ruobing and said, "It's time to go to class. Listen carefully. It will help your mental health." Humph. Wang Ruobing snorted coldly, and then looked at his book. In the following class, Teacher Shui's teaching was not very exciting, and he often made mistakes, especially he never raised his head, and he was always staring at the notebook during class. I know she was afraid that she would meet my eyes after raising her head. The class ended quickly. When the get out of class was over, I stood up from the chair in a flash, and Wang Ruobing looked at me with strange eyes. "Sorry, I have something urgent," I said to Wang Ruobing, and then ran down and came to the podium. "Teacher, let me take the notebook for you," I said to Teacher Shui with a smile. Teacher Shui was stunned for a moment, then nodded and walked past me. "I'm in office 623. Yeah." I nodded, walked over to unplug the projector plug connected to the laptop, then tidied it up, put the laptop in my bag and picked it up. "You kid, you are so eager to show your courtesy, we should all learn from you in the future." My roommate Liu Donggang came over and patted me on the shoulder and said, "Get out, I'm just helping the teacher to reduce the burden, you think wrong." I smiled and walked past Liu Donggang. When I came to the door, I found Wang Ruobing standing at the door, staring at me motionlessly. I don't know what she was thinking. "I'm just helping the teacher to get the projector, we'll talk later when we have time," I said to Wang Ruobing. "HMPH. Wang Ruobing snorted coldly, "Who wants to talk to you again? You are too suspicious." After Wang Ruobing finished speaking, he turned and walked out. Oh, I was blocked by Wang Ruobing's words for a moment, and I didn't know what to say. With a helpless sigh, I also walked out, carrying my computer bag to the 6th floor. I found office 623, knocked on the door, and then walked in. The office was a big office with many teachers inside. I looked for Teacher Shui sitting in the corner, and then walked over. Teacher Shui was tidying up his desk. After seeing me, he said to me very calmly, "Put the computer on the desk, thank you." "It's okay, teacher, help each other." I suddenly realized that I said the wrong thing, so I immediately changed my words and whispered, "Do you have time this afternoon? I want to have a meal with you." "Thank you, classmate, the teacher is still very busy now, you go out first." Teacher Shui did not answer my question, but said to me like this. Teacher Shui said this, and there were so many teachers in the office, I was embarrassed to say anything, so I had to walk out of the office. After leaving the office, I felt that my mood was particularly bad, and I felt a sense of loss. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I even doubted whether I really liked Teacher Shui. If it's true, what should I do? Teacher Shui is from a wealthy family. Although he has quarreled with his stepfather, he is used to a life of ease and comfort. Can Teacher Shui be interested in a poor girl like me? Moreover, in this economically backward and conservative place, is a teacher-student relationship really acceptable? I don't know these, so I am confused and I don't know what to do. Chapter 14, Expelled from the Dormitory. After coming out of the office, I walked directly to the dormitory. Although there was still a class, for someone like me who often skipped classes, going to class was a myth. What can you do to me if I don't go to class? Besides, I was in a bad mood now. Did you ask me to go to class because you were afraid that the class would not be chaotic enough or something? Walking on the road, I lit a cigarette for myself. I walked towards the dormitory while smoking. I felt so entangled. It was really unacceptable. It was fine the night before, but now it has become like this. I really don't know what words to use to describe my mood at this moment. When I came to the door of the dormitory, I took out the key from the door frame, opened the door and walked in. After entering, I was immediately stunned. My bed was gone, only an empty bed board. I felt that something was wrong, so I immediately called Xiaohua. As a result, Xiaohua's reply to me was that the floor manager had expelled me from the dormitory building after research and did not allow me to continue living in the dormitory. After hanging up the phone, I lay down on the bed of my roommate next to me. I knew that I had to find a way to rent a house outside. My boredom became stronger. I lay on the bed, but I found that I couldn't fall asleep. I took out my headphones, plugged them into my phone, and played Wang Feng's songs, but I found that I still couldn't get into that state of concentration. My heart was too chaotic, and it was no longer something that could be adjusted by a few songs. In this way, I kept wasting time until noon. I got up from the bed and ran to the cafeteria to eat. When I swiped my card, I found that there was no money on my meal card. I took out the little cash I had and bought a bowl of rice to fill my stomach first. After dinner, I returned to the dormitory. All the roommates came back. A few little bastards talked to each other, and they looked gloating. I slapped them hard. Okay, everyone, stop talking. Let's think about how to solve Xiaolong's accommodation problem. Dormitory head Yang Jinjin finally said something human. What else can we do? Let's get some money together. I have 100 yuan here. You can take it. If anyone has money, please give some more or less. Xiao Huo said to the others after handing me 100 yuan. Others also began to touch their trouser pockets. Wang Ailuan, who was on the upper bunk, took out 20 yuan and handed it to me, saying to me, "Brother, you know me, I spend a lot of money. Now I have countless foreign debts. I only have these 20 yuan. You can take it first." Although Wang Ailuan's money was small, it almost moved me to tears. Others also donated some to me, more or less. After a while, I had 400 yuan more in my hand. With these 400 yuan, renting a house is not a problem, but paying it back is a problem. I know I have to find a part-time job to earn some money. After thanking my roommates, I took the life-saving money given by my roommates and prepared to find a house. Houses near the school are a bit expensive. I did not choose a house near the school, but chose a suburb 3 bus stops away from the school and rented a house there. This house is actually not bad, at least better than our dormitory, with water and electricity, and a separate bathroom, but the rent is a little more, 400 yuan a month, which is exactly the money my roommates raised for me. When I paid the rent, I only paid half a month's rent, which is 200 yuan, because it is already the middle of the month, and my family will send money in another half a month, so I will have money to pay the rent by then. Lying on the bed, I don't know how to express my current mood. Anyway, it is a very tangled mood. Unable to figure it out, I finally just covered my head and fell asleep. Sleeping can make people forget some troubles, but I was unlucky to find that even sleeping was not peaceful. The dream I had was so tragic. I was scared awake by a nightmare. After waking up, I touched my forehead and found that it was all cold sweat. This damn dream really scared me. After getting up from the bed, I looked at my phone and found that Xiao Huo had called me many times, so I immediately replied to one of them. "What are you doing? You haven't answered the phone for such a long time. Have you found a house?" Xiao Huo said immediately after answering the phone. "I have found a house." "What's wrong?" I asked Xiao Huo. "Didn't you say you were looking for a job? The bar opposite is recruiting managers. If you want to do it, go and apply now. I just saw it. If you go too late, the position will be taken by someone else. Don't say I didn't tell you." Xiao Huo hung up the phone after saying that. I looked at the time and found that it was almost 7:30. It was time for self-study. No wonder this guy seemed so anxious. Compared with these people, I feel that I am not a student. I skip classes all the time, and now I don't even go to the strict evening self-study. It's really a sin. After lying in bed for a while, I sat up. Now is a difficult period, and having a job is the most important thing. Since there is such a job to do, I will certainly not let it go. After tidying up my appearance, I went out and prepared to go to the bar that Xiao Huo mentioned to find a job. Coming out of the room and out of the courtyard gate of the landlord's aunt, I just looked up and found that Teacher Shui was standing in front of me. I was a little excited and ran over there immediately, but before I ran to Teacher Shui, a taxi stopped, and Teacher Shui got in and left. I stopped, shook my fist fiercely, and cursed myself for not coming out earlier. However, at this time, I had a question in my mind: why was Teacher Shui here? But this question is obviously not something that can be thought clearly now, so I didn't dwell on it too much. After lighting a cigarette, I walked silently on the street. It's also more than 20 minutes away from the school. I have been walking all the time because I don't have too much money to take a taxi. I don't know how long I walked, but I finally arrived at the school gate. After standing at the school gate and looking at the scenery inside, I crossed the road and went to the bar opposite. There were still many people online at this time. Many people were playing League of Legends or Crossfire or Reverse War on their computers. I don't like to play these games. My favorite game is Red Alert because I am a military fan. When I came to the bar, a beautiful girl was on duty. She should be about the same age as me. When I walked over, the girl was eating instant noodles. Eating instant noodles is not good for your health, especially it will cause acne, which is not good for your skin. I smiled and said to the beautiful girl who was eating instant noodles and didn't notice me. The beautiful girl raised her head and lowered her head after seeing me. Does it matter to you what I eat? There are no machines here. Go to another bar. The beautiful girl said while eating instant noodles. I didn't expect this pretty girl to be so strong. I looked around the hall in confusion, and then said to her, I see there are still many empty machines. How can you say there are no machines? If I say there are no machines, then there are no machines. Go away. You're so annoying. The pretty girl put down her chopsticks, picked up a bottle of mineral water next to her and took a sip. I'm on duty now, I'm the boss. If I say there are no machines, then there are no machines. If you don't agree, you can go to the boss. You. I was speechless for a moment. When I didn't know what to say, I suddenly found the boss walking in from the door. I turned around and smiled at the pretty girl, saying, Your boss is here. The pretty girl turned around and looked like a different person, smiling and saying to me, Please give me your ID card. How much do you want to recharge? I smiled and shook my head, saying, Sorry, I won't go. Oh, the pretty girl was anxious. Isn't it just that I had a bad attitude just now? Don't take it to heart. Hurry up and give me your ID card and I'll turn on the machine for you. No, I really won't go. I said with a helpless gesture. Oh, I'm wrong. Is it okay if I'm wrong? Hurry up and give me your ID card and I'll turn on the machine for you. The pretty girl was really anxious. I'm also helpless now. I didn't come here to go to work in the first place. Now that I've told the truth, this pretty girl doesn't believe me. Chapter 15, The Fierce Rainbow Girl. Okay, I'll tell you the truth, I'm not here to study, I'm here to apply for a job. Aren't you short of a manager now? I'm here to apply for this job. I said to the beautiful girl very helplessly. The pretty girl looked like she was relieved and after sitting down on the chair she immediately stood up again. Hello, Brother Lee. The beautiful girl greeted the boss who was walking over. Yeah. The boss nodded and said, Has the recruitment notice been sent out? It has been sent out, said the beautiful girl. Is there anyone here to apply for the job? The boss asked the pretty girl. This. The beautiful girl looked at me. Oh, hello Brother Lee. I quickly greeted Brother Lee. Hey, it's you, kid. I haven't seen you for a long time. What's wrong? You bought yourself a computer and don't come to take care of Brother Lee's business. Brother Lee said with a smile. I came here almost every day when I was a freshman, so I wasn't too surprised that the boss remembered me. I quickly said, It's not that I don't want to take care of Brother Lee's business, but I'm so poor that I can't even afford to eat, so how can I come here to study? The purpose of coming here today is to find a job and earn some money to fill my stomach. Are you here to apply for a job? Brother Lee looked at me in surprise. This job is very boring. Can you stick to it? No matter how boring it is, as long as I can earn some money to fill my stomach, it's enough. You're so old now, it's time to endure some hardships. I took out a cigarette from my trouser pocket and handed it to Brother Lee. No, smoking is not allowed in the bar, so forget it. Since you are here to apply for a job, I have to ask you a few questions. You are still a student, and you must have time to work. I don't know how much time you have in a day. Brother Lee walked into the bar, found a chair and sat down. I have a lot of time, almost all day long, I said quickly. Aren't you going to class? Brother Lee asked me. Hey, Brother Lee, don't you understand this? We are all in our junior year now, and the teachers have basically taken care of everything. As long as we don't make any principled mistakes, failing a course will be a myth for us. I said with a smile. Okay, what we need now is someone like you. Let's put it this way. You can follow Tsai Hong to learn how to operate the Dragon Butler first, and then leave your phone number. You can be a freelancer with irregular working hours. When we need you, we will call you and you can come to work. As for the salary, it's 1,600 yuan a month. What do you think? 16,000. The pretty girl next to her, Rainbow, said in surprise. Rainbow, you have to understand that you all work fixed hours and sometimes you can't come, but I can come on call at any time, so the uncertainty is relatively large. 1,600 is relatively reasonable. Brother Lee said to Rainbow, a girl next to him who was a little unconvinced. Oh, I see. Rainbow sat back with a little emotion. You see, this girl is still a little unconvinced. What do you think? How about 1,600 yuan a month? Brother Lee asked me. That's great. I'm already very satisfied. In fact, my heart was about to jump out. 16,000 a month, this was something I had not thought of before. Okay, that's settled. As for the contract, you should understand that you are all part-time workers, so we won't sign the contract. It's too troublesome. But you can rest assured about my character, Brother Lee. Of course, Brother Lee, aren't you and I worried? I said with a smile. Well, don't worry. I'll be going down first. You can study with Sai-hung first. After you're done, go back and wait for the call. If someone calls you, just come over. My salary is not paid in vain. Usually, others call you half an hour in advance, so I hope you can get here within half an hour. How about that? Well, I'll do it, I said quickly. Brother Lee nodded and left, leaving only Rainbow Girl and I at the bar. I entered the bar from the side entrance, sat on the chair next to Rainbow Girl, and said to her, hurry up and teach me how to operate this management system so I can learn it. I waited for a while, but saw that Rainbow Girl was staring at the computer screen looking at a series of data and didn't even pay attention to me. I felt a little embarrassed, so I said, Rainbow Girl, can you teach me how to operate the bar management system? Rainbow Girl still ignored me. I waited for a while and then said, Brother Lee just asked you to teach me the management system. If I don't learn it, it's your fault. It has nothing to do with me. After that, I waited for Rainbow Girl's reply. After a while, Rainbow Girl said slowly, want to learn how to operate a management system? Yes, I want to learn. I answered affirmatively. You want to learn without becoming my disciple or paying tuition. Aren't you a bit naive? I am not responsible for teaching you how to operate the management system for nothing. Rainbow Girl said. I stared at Rainbow Girl blankly. I wanted to get angry, but when I thought that we would be colleagues and would be working together in the future, I suppressed my urge to get angry and said to Rainbow Girl, then tell me, how are we going to pay the tuition? Anyway, I don't want your money. You can handle the rest yourself. Rainbow Girl said without turning her head. I reached into my trouser pocket, felt for my wallet, and finally said with determination, okay, I'll treat you to a midnight snack tonight. What do you want to eat? I'll take you out when you get off work later. That's what you said. I didn't ask you to treat me to a meal. Don't be the first to complain and say that I was blackmailing you or something. Rainbow Girl finally turned around and said to me with a smile. I feel that this girl is really too evil. With such a personality, which man would dare to marry her? I feel a little sorry for my money. After all, it was collected by my brothers. Now that I spend it so lavishly, I feel a little sorry for the brothers who collected money for me. If you want to learn, just watch. I will demonstrate it to you. Remember, I will only demonstrate it once. If you can't remember it, you can't say I didn't teach you. Rainbow Girl said to me with a smile. Okay, show me. I nodded. When the Rainbow Girl was about to demonstrate, a man with burning yellow hair and earrings came over, slapped his ID card and RMB on the bar, and said, open a machine for me. Look carefully. Rainbow Girl said to me and then took out her ID card to show me. After I turned on the machine, I found that it was really very simple, so simple that it made me regret it a little. But the words have been said, and there is nothing I can do but wait and treat Rainbow Girl to a meal. I want to drink milk tea, go buy me a cup of milk tea. After turning on the machine, Rainbow Girl immediately acted like a big boss. There are so many Ultimate here, why not just take one and make a brew? I wanted to take Ultimate from the shelf at the back. No, I don't want this. I want you to go downstairs and buy me some freshly made milk tea. I want chocolate flavor. Rainbow Girl turned her head and said to me with a childlike smile, I felt like I couldn't stand up to Rainbow Girl's attack, so I had to bow my head and admit defeat. Okay, I'll let you be my aunt today, but only for today. Let us talk about the future later. Go buy me some milk tea first. Remember, I want it hot. After Rainbow Girl said that, she took out her cell phone. I saw that she was playing a game. It turned out to be the Rhythm Master that is quite popular these days. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen it before? Go buy me some milk tea. Rainbow Girl said angrily. I stood up helplessly, then walked out of the bar, went out of the bar, and came to the milk tea shop downstairs. Brother Yarn, I want a chocolate milk tea to take away. I said to Brother Yarn, the owner of the milk tea shop. It's so late, haven't you had self-study? Brother Yarn walked over and went to make milk tea. It's already the third year of college, who still goes to evening self-study. I chatted with Brother Yarn for a few words, and when Brother Yarn finished making the milk tea, I went up again with the milk tea. As soon as I entered the bar and was still some distance away from the bar, I heard a quarrel in the bar. Looking towards the bar, I found that Rainbow Girl was furious and arguing loudly with some hooligans. Chapter 16, Neighbor Teacher Shwe. I hurried over and found that Rainbow Girl was holding the beer bottles in her hands, as if she was about to hit me. What's wrong? Put it down, put it down. After I put the milk tea on the bar, I snatched the beer bottle from Rainbow's hand. Hee hee, I like women like you. Since you don't agree to sleep with me tonight, let's forget about this matter for now. However, you have to be careful. It's very dangerous for a girl to go home late at night. I think you should stay here tonight and not go home. A red-haired girl smiled and turned away. The three gangsters with him also turned away. Seeing those hooligans leave, I quickly asked Saihong, what's going on? Nothing, that guy just wanted to sleep with me, but I didn't agree. After Rainbow Girl finished speaking, she picked up the milk tea on the bar. Thank you for the milk tea. I could tell that Rainbow Girl was in a very unhappy mood, otherwise she wouldn't have spoken like that. If everything is fine, I'll go back first. Call me when you get off work and I'll take you out for a midnight snack. I said to Rainbow Girl. You can't leave. Rainbow Girl suddenly said to me. Oh? Why can't I leave? I asked Rainbow Girl. In short, you can't leave. I'll turn on a computer for you and you can go over there to use it. I'll pay for it. Rainbow Girl said to me. I know that although Rainbow Girl looked very strong just now, she is still a woman after all, and she is fragile inside. She must have been a little scared at this time. Protecting women is a man's natural duty. I knew that I should shoulder this responsibility now, so I did not choose to run away, but sat on a chair at the bar. You don't have to turn on the computer for me. I don't feel like it now. I'll just sit here and chat with you. We'll go back together when you get off work. I said to Rainbow Girl. Rainbow Girl nodded, then took a bottle of Coke from the shelf and placed it in front of me and said, This bottle of Coke is a gift from me to you, hee hee. I smiled and shook my head, but still took the Coke. In the following time, Rainbow Girl and I officially started chatting. After chatting for a while, I found out that Rainbow Girl was actually a local and her home was in Yumen. Obviously, Yumen also belongs to Juchuan. We chatted until midnight, when another manager came. He was a man with a very white face, but it was the kind of natural white. He looked very handsome. We can call him a pretty boy. When the pretty boy came and saw Saihong and I chatting enthusiastically at the bar, he seemed a little unhappy. Only staff members can enter. You are not a staff member, please come out. The pretty boy pointed at me and said. He is also the manager here. Brother Lee just arrested him today. If you keep yelling at me, I will kick you out. Rainbow Girl still said fiercely. The pretty boy was obviously a little overwhelmed by Rainbow's toughness. After seeing Rainbow lose her temper, he stopped talking and walked into the bar silently. There's absolutely no problem with the bill. Just order it yourself. I'm going home first. Rainbow Girl said to the pretty boy, then picked up her bag from the bar and walked out. When she passed me, she held my hand and said, Let's go. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly followed Rainbow's steps and walked out with Rainbow. After we came out of the bar, I asked Rainbow Girl, Where are you going for supper first? I'll take you there. Where else could it be? Of course it's barbecue. There's a barbecue stall in front. Let's go there to eat. Rainbow Girl let go of me and said as she walked forward. I followed Rainbow Girl to the barbecue stall. Rainbow Girl quickly ordered a lot of food. However, I was not very interested in this kind of food, so I did not order anything. The end result was that I could only watch Rainbow Girl eat while I could not eat anything. After eating barbecue, I asked Rainbow Girl where she lived. She said she rented a house in the village in front. I said I would take her back, but she started hesitating. I kept asking her, and finally she told me the truth. I'm a little scared. Those gangsters may have targeted me. I dare not go back. Rainbow Girl spoke to me in a timid tone for the first time. What should we do then? If you don't go to bed, do you really want to sleep in the bar? I asked Rainbow Girl. I think, why don't you let me sleep at your place? That way I'll feel more at ease. Rainbow Girl looked at me pitifully. But I live alone. It might not be appropriate for you to go to my place, right? I said to Rainbow Girl. Oh, I'm a girl and I'm not afraid, so what are you afraid of? Just tell me whether I should go or not. Rainbow Girl became very proud, as if my home was her home. Okay, you can go, but please don't scold me if I can't help but do something wrong at night. I said to Rainbow Girl. You dare. If you dare to do anything excessive, I will castrate you immediately. Rainbow Girl said sternly. I was so scared that I quickly closed my legs together, as if this guy was really going to castrate me. After eating the barbecue and paying the bill, I took Rainbow Girl to the room I rented. Fortunately, the bed in the room was a big bed, otherwise it really wouldn't be able to sleep two people. Rainbow Girl seemed very tired, and immediately fell asleep on the bed after coming. Seeing Rainbow Girl fall asleep, I waited for a while, and my heart was a little itchy, and the bad thoughts appeared in my mind again. Just when I was itching in my heart and was about to commit a crime, Rainbow Girl suddenly turned over from the bed, pointed at me and said to me, I'm telling you, don't have any crooked thoughts. If you have any crooked thoughts, I will really castrate you. When I heard Rainbow Girl say this, I immediately became erect, washed up quickly, and then lay down on the bed and fell asleep. It's strange, I don't know what's going on, but usually when there's a beautiful woman sleeping next to me I definitely can't control my desire and would have such thoughts, but today I was very normal. Not only did I not have such thoughts, but I also fell asleep very quickly. It may be because Rainbow Girl is too strong, so I don't have the courage. I slept until I was woken up by Rainbow Girl. When I was woken up by Rainbow Girl, it was still dark outside. I looked at the time and it was only 7 o'clock. Hurry up and get up. I have to go to work now. Rainbow Girl said to me. You go to work and I sleep, there is no conflict between them. I said in confusion. No, you have to get up. If you sleep too long you will turn into a pig. Rainbow Girl insisted that I get up. Finally, I couldn't stand Rainbow Girl's request anymore and lazily got up from the bed. After getting up, I quickly washed up and prepared to go out with Rainbow Girl. Rainbow Girl walked out, and I took out the key from the room and locked the door after going out. But as soon as I turned around, a bolt from the blue hit my mind. The tenant of the next room was also preparing to lock the door and go out, but what I couldn't expect was that the tenant of the next room was actually Teacher Shue. Shue, Teacher Shue. I said stutteringly. Teacher Shue turned around and looked at me in surprise, as if he didn't know what to say. Hello, teacher. Rainbow Girl also followed me to greet Teacher Shue. When I thought of Rainbow Girl, I immediately panicked. Although Teacher Shue might not care, I care about Teacher Shue, and I don't want Teacher Shue to have any prejudice against me. Teacher Shue, she is a friend of mine. She just came here this morning. I explained to Teacher Shue. Oh. Teacher Shue nodded, then turned and walked out without paying any attention to me. I kept staring at Teacher Shue's back. When her back disappeared from my sight, I seemed to wake up, rushed out of the gate, and chased after Teacher Shue in front of me. Chapter 17, Charming School Beauty. Maybe it was because Teacher Shue deliberately wanted to avoid me. When I rushed out, Teacher Shue had already taken a taxi and left. She is your teacher. Rainbow Girl also came out and said to me. Yes, teacher. I felt a little depressed. I don't think it's simple. Are you in love with your teacher? Rainbow Girl suddenly said to me. After listening to Rainbow Girl's words, I lowered my head for a moment, then raised it again and said with a smile, no, she is a teacher and I am a student. How could a student possibly like a teacher? That's not necessarily true. Haven't you seen it on TV? Many professors fall in love with their students, and some even get married. Isn't that what happened to Li Xuanjiang and Meng Jie? Rainbow Girl said with a pout. Why are you talking so much nonsense? If you want to go to work, just get going. You are not afraid of being late for work, but I am afraid of being late for class. After I said that, I walked ahead. You? Rainbow Girl stomped her feet and followed. I accompanied Rainbow Girl to the door of the bar, then I walked out of the bar, crossed the road and came to the school. As soon as I entered the school, I called Xiao Hua and asked if we had a class in the first period. The answer was yes. Our first class was building materials, which was building materials and testing. The teacher was also a female teacher, but this female teacher was older and I had no interest in her. Of course, interest or not is one thing, and flattery is also necessary. Because I can talk, I have a good relationship with the building materials teacher, which is why I am so arrogant and dare to skip classes. When I sat down in the classroom, most of the students had not arrived yet. Only some people with old-fashioned ideas who thought they could get the 8,000 yuan National Inspirational Scholarship were studying there. Little did they know that these scholarships had already been reserved by the president of the department's student union. University is like this. As a dog of the teacher, the president of the student union can get much more than other people. For example, this scholarship requires good grades to get it, but even if the president's academic performance is not good, the teacher can give random grades, so that the president's grades are far ahead of others, so that he can easily get the scholarship. Of course, university is a rehearsal before entering society. Through this rehearsal, many people have the ability to enter society, but many people still stay in school and are unable to adapt to the cunning and hardships of society. I sat in the class for a long time before Xiao Hua came into the classroom with brisk steps. After seeing me sitting in the classroom, he immediately ran to me. How did you know to come to class today, kid? Is the beautiful teacher putting pressure on you and forcing you to study hard? Har har. Xiao Hua said with a big laugh. Other people in the class also looked at me, especially some girls, who looked at me in an incomprehensible way, making me not know what was going on. Hey, do you know? Something very sensational happened in our school last night. Xiao Hua whispered in my ear. What's the matter? I asked Xiao Hua. About Wang Ruobing. Xiao Hua said. Wang Ruobing. I looked at Xiao Hua. What happened to her? Damn, you really don't know. Wang Ruobing has someone in her heart. Xiao Hua said with a little disappointment. Tell me, such a beautiful woman, how could she have someone in her heart? Fuck, get out, you beast, don't you have a girlfriend? I cursed, and then continued to ask, tell me, what exactly happened? Why haven't I heard any news at all? Fuck you, have you followed Wang Ruobing's Tencent Weibo? Xiao Hua said. This seems to have been paid attention to, but that was a long time ago. I said to Xiao Hua. That's right. Take out your phone and check it out. She posted a Weibo post last night saying that she has found someone she loves. Fuck, let me go check it out. I quickly took out my phone and opened Tencent Weibo. Sure enough, I soon saw Wang Ruobing's Weibo post. It's a summer night, but I feel so cold. Where are you now, my beloved? Can you hear me calling you? I think I have fallen in love with you. How I wish I could have the warmth of your embrace now. Let me be in your arms, listen to your heartbeat, breathe in your scent, and then. After reading Wang Ruobing's Weibo post, I felt a little confused. How could Wang Ruobing have someone she likes so soon? Although I don't have that kind of feeling towards Wang Ruobing, she is the school beauty after all. It is such a heartbreaking thing for us fans that the school beauty has found her lover. Don't sigh, don't you have a woman who is better than Wang Ruobing? Why are you sighing here? Xiao Hua patted my shoulder and said. Are you talking nonsense? I'm a bachelor, where would I find a woman? I immediately retorted to Xiao Hua. Okay, just treat it as a fart. Poor teacher Shui, Sun Xiaolong treats you as a fart, you'd better find a better man to marry, a bastard like Sun Xiaolong is not worthy of you. Xiao Hua sighed to the sky. Get out. I cursed angrily, then stood up from my seat and walked straight out of the classroom. As soon as I walked out of the classroom, I ran into the building materials teacher. Hello, teacher. I said quickly. Hey, Sun Xiaolong, why are you here for class today? What are you planning to do? The building materials teacher asked me. Teacher, my stomach hurts. I'm going to the bathroom. I quickly said to the teacher. Have a stomachache. Then go quickly and remember to come back to class. You haven't been to class for a long time. If you don't come to class again, I will have to hang you up. The building materials teacher said with a smile. Looking at the smiling face of the building materials teacher, I don't feel much pressure. Is it true that you threaten students with a smiling face? This is obviously nonsense. Even if I don't come to class, the building materials teacher won't hang me up. Otherwise, do you think that I contributed my body in vain? Of course, the so-called contribution of the body has a deep meaning, and no one should think wrongly. Thank you, teacher. I said with a smile, and then walked over to the building materials teacher. As soon as I moved past the building materials teacher, I started running, cursing myself as I ran into the classroom. I was not supposed to be in the class, but I had to come here to cause trouble. What the hell was wrong with my brain? When I came to the lecture hall, I stopped because public classes are usually taught in lecture halls. I wanted to see if it was Teacher Shue who was teaching. If it was Teacher Shue, I would go in and listen to the class even if I had to die. To like someone, doesn't it mean to like everything about her? Listening to her talk seems to be a wonderful thing. I quietly put my ear to the door of the classroom and listened to the sounds inside. There were people inside, but it was so noisy that I couldn't hear whether it was Teacher Shue's voice or not. But I know that I need to persist in doing this, so I continue to persevere. Finally, the noise inside gradually disappeared. It should be that the teacher was about to start the class. Hello, students. I am the new psychology teacher. My name is. It's Teacher Shue. I felt like my heart was about to jump out of my chest. I wanted to push the door open and go in, but I found someone pulling my clothes from behind. I turned around and saw that the person standing behind me was Wang Ruobing. Wang Ruobing, you. Like other thieves who were caught, I felt a little guilty. Come with me, I have something to tell you. After Wang Ruobing said that, he turned around and walked out of the teaching building. I hesitated for a moment, but turned around and followed Wang Ruobing out of the teaching building. I walked behind Wang Ruobing and found that she looked particularly beautiful today, many times more beautiful than usual, especially her dress, which was revealing but not coquettish, somewhere in between the two, and the combination was just right, making people feel unpleasant and have many bad thoughts in their hearts. Chapter 18. Do you have someone you like? Wang Ruobing finally walked into the grove at the back. This should be considered the school's artillery range, because you can often see many couples here doing things that make your heart passionate. There was a small pavilion in the grove, and Wang Ruobing walked into the pavilion and sat down. I followed him and stood next to Wang Ruobing. What do you want to talk to me about? I asked Wang Ruobing. Wang Ruobing didn't say anything. After a moment's silence, she suddenly reached into her trouser pocket, took out a pack of heart-to-heart napkins, then took out a piece and wiped the place next to her. It's clean now, sit down. Wang Ruobing said to me. After hesitating for a moment, I sat next to Wang Ruobing. Today, I asked you to come here, actually. Wang Ruobing did not finish his words, but stood up and looked around. Let's go, let's find another place to talk. There are paparazzi taking pictures here again. Wang Ruobing stood up after saying that. I also looked around, but didn't see the paparazzi that Wang Ruobing mentioned. I'm often secretly photographed, especially when I'm with you men. The paparazzi often take pictures of me, so I have developed a good eye. There was a flash just now, so someone must have photographed us. If you don't want to see more photos of us on our school's bulletin board or forum tonight, then come with me now. Wang Ruobing looked at me and said indifferently. I nodded and said, okay, you decide where to go. Let's go to the milk tea shop outside the school. It's quieter there. Wang Ruobing said to me. I nodded and said to Wang Ruobing, okay, you're the one looking for me, I'll go wherever you say. Yeah. Wang Ruobing said softly, and then walked ahead. I walked over and stood next to Wang Ruobing. Wang Ruobing didn't say anything, and neither did I. After walking for about 10 minutes, Wang Ruobing and I walked out of the school gate, crossed the road, and came to the milk tea shop. The milk tea shop is the place where I bought milk tea for Rainbow Girl last night. When I went in, Brother Yang was packing up his things. It looked like it had just opened. Xiaolong, you're here so early. Brother Yang was talking when he suddenly saw Wang Ruobing next to him. After a moment of stunned silence, Brother Yang said with a smile, "Xiaolong, not bad, you actually managed to get the school beauty of your school, har har. Brother Yang, please stop making fun of me. We are here just to discuss some business," I explained to Brother Yang. At this time, Wang Ruobing had already entered the small private room for two people that Brother Yang prepared specifically for couples. "Don't I know you, kid? You just mess around all day long. How can you do any serious work?" Brother Yang still said with a smile. "Hey, Brother Yang, you have to believe me. Do I look like the kind of guy who can get the school bell?" I joked to myself. "Everything is possible, har har, everything is possible," said Brother Yang. "Okay, I won't chat with you anymore, Brother Yang. I'll go in first and tell you what to drink later," I said to Brother Yang, and then walked into the small private room. "What would you like to drink?" I asked Wang Ruobing. "It seems that there is only milk tea here," Wang Ruobing said. "No, in addition to milk tea, there is also beer. Do you want milk tea or beer?" I asked Wang Ruobing. "Har har, let's not drink wine, then let's have milk tea, lan maize," Wang Ruobing said. I nodded, came out of the box, and said to Brother Yang, "Brother Yang, a blue plum milk tea, and a cordon bleu. Are you sure you want to drink beer so early in the morning?" Brother Yang asked me. "It's okay. I've practiced it. There's no problem drinking beer at any time," I said to Brother Yang. Brother Yang smiled and nodded, saying, "Go in and take care of your school beauty wife first, I'll go get you some milk tea." I smiled helplessly and then went into the box. After entering the box, I sat opposite Wang Ruobing and suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a bit stiff. I didn't know what to say. "Don't you want to find out why I came to you now?" Wang Ruobing suddenly said. "No, you tell me." After a pause, I continued, "You should know that I really want to know." Wang Ruobing stared at me with her eyes wide open, which made me feel a little embarrassed. "There's a speaker here, let's listen to some light music." I took out my mobile phone and connected it to the small speaker in the box. I prefer listening to Bandari's light music, so I have a lot of such light music on my mobile phone. I can find a lot of it with just a simple search. I played a song called Fashion Light by Bandari, and suddenly I felt the atmosphere in the box was very romantic. If a couple sat here, they would probably hug each other and start that kind of. Unfortunately, we are not a couple, so we can only sit here quietly and enjoy the light music. "Go ahead and talk, I'm listening." Wang Ruobing was still looking at me, which made me feel a little embarrassed. "Have you ever been in love?" Wang Ruobing suddenly asked me. "No, it's difficult for someone like me to find a suitable person," I said to Wang Ruobing. "Then you probably don't know what it feels like to be in love," Wang Ruobing said again. "Well, I don't know yet, but I have liked people before, and I have also felt the feeling of liking someone," I said. "Then can you tell me what it feels like to like someone?" Wang Ruobing asked again. "The feeling of liking someone is very wonderful. You will think about her all the time and guess what she is doing now. You will have wild thoughts and you will have a sense of crisis when you see her with other men. You always feel that the men around her are your rivals. You also always feel that she is the best in the world. Except her, there seems to be no one else in your eyes. Of course, the most important thing is that you want to be with her all the time, especially at night when you are lying in bed alone. You will think how nice it would be if she was by your side, how wonderful that feeling would be, and then, you will find that a more evil picture will appear in your mind. I truthfully expressed the feeling when I liked someone. What else?" Wang Ruobing looked at me intently. "And, actually, just like the Weibo you posted last night, this feeling seems simple, it's just missing someone, but in fact it's a complicated feeling that makes you confused and your mind is stranded a lot of the time. You can't feel your own existence because you have ignored your existence. The only person in your mind is the person you like." After I finished speaking, I suddenly found that Wang Ruobing was stunned, looking at me with an almost infatuated look, which scared me. What's wrong?" I said to Wang Ruobing. "Oh, no, nothing, I just think what you said is very right and it resonates with me." Wang Ruobing straightened up. Ding ding ding. There was a knock on the door. It should be Brother Yang, so I stood up and opened the door. "Your milk tea and beer." Brother Yang put the milk tea and beer on the table, then winked at me and walked out. I know, Brother Yang is overthinking it again. Do you have someone you like now? Wang Ruobing asked me after Brother Yarn left. Now. I hesitated, then said with a little bit of Myanmar, yes. Oh. Wang Ruobing looked a little unhappy. Then, is she in this school? Yes, it's in this school. I nodded affirmatively. Does she know that you like her? Wang Ruobing asked. I probably don't know. I replied. A secret crush. After a pause, Wang Ruobing continued to ask, when did you two meet? We just met in the last few days, I said. Is she very pretty? Yes, very beautiful. It was at this time that I suddenly noticed that Wang Ruobing's complexion was gradually getting better, like cloudy skies turning sunny. Are you ready to confess to her? Wang Ruobing asked with a little shyness and anticipation. I was stunned and said, I want to, but I don't know when to confess. Wang Ruobing's rhythm made me a little uncomfortable. I felt like I was facing another Wang Ruobing. Wang Ruobing continued, if you had a chance to confess right now, would you be willing to do so? Now. I was a little stunned. If there is such an opportunity now, I am willing to confess, but it seems that there is no such opportunity now. Yes. Wang Ruobing seemed very excited. Just at this moment, my phone suddenly rang. My name is Xia Rui, and tonight The ringtone sounded a bit evil, so I quickly took out the phone and answered the call before I even saw the caller's name. Hello, this is Rainbow. Please come to the bar now. It's time for you to go to work. I have to go out for something. Rainbow said hurriedly on the phone. When I heard that, I immediately said, don't worry, I'll be right over. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Look, here, something suddenly happened. I said a little embarrassedly. What's the matter? So important? Wang Ruobing asked me. It's not a big deal, actually. I just found a job there and I'm working as a manager. Now they want me to take over. I said to Wang Ruobing. Oh, it's okay. Since you are very busy now, go ahead. I will leave later. Wang Ruobing lowered her head and drank her milk tea. Well, I've already paid the bill to Brother Yang, so you can just leave when the time comes. I said to Wang Ruobing, and then walked out of the box. Chapter 19, Goddess, don't scare me. After leaving the box, I said hello to Brother Yang, and then I went straight out. The bar was just upstairs, so I went straight upstairs and arrived at the bar. There weren't too many people in the bar because it wasn't time yet and the guys were either in class or sleeping in the dormitory. I came to the bar and saw Rainbow Girl staring at something on the computer screen. What are you looking at? I asked Rainbow Girl. No, nothing. Rainbow Girl quickly clicked the mouse, then stood up from the chair. I suddenly have something to do. You stay on duty here, I'm leaving first. After Rainbow Girl finished speaking, she picked up her bag from the bar and walked away carrying it. I felt like Rainbow Girl and I had barely said a few words before this guy left. Looking at her receding back, I walked into the bar feeling a little lonely and sat on a chair. Sitting in a chair, I was so bored that I didn't know what I was thinking about. I always felt that I was thinking a lot, but my mind was very messy. What was I thinking about? I didn't know, or rather, I didn't want to know. Teacher Shue's attitude towards me is very obvious. I seem to have felt that it is very difficult for me to pursue Teacher Shue, but should I not pursue her just because it is difficult? The answer is no. Since I have met the person I like, I will face the difficulties no matter how difficult it is, because love is something that may be missed once it is missed, and it may never come back. I don't want to run into Teacher Shue on the street many years later, but only pass by like a stranger. I should take Teacher Shue into my family, shouldn't I? After sitting at the bar for a while, people started to arrive. I turned on the machines for them, and gradually I felt less empty. This is life, this is our life, isn't it? Living, surviving, we should find something to do. If we can only sit there and wait to die, it is better to just crash and die. This is the easiest way and can save some resources for the country. I have been sitting here for the whole morning, and finally when it was noon, I felt a little bit of anticipation in my heart. I was expecting the successor to come quickly so that I could be free and at least have a meal, right? However, as the saying goes, the greater the expectations, the greater the disappointment. As I expected, the successor did not come, and I could only sit there doing nothing. Finally, at 1 o'clock, I couldn't wait any longer, so I picked up the phone and called Rainbow Girl. The call went through, but the person who answered the phone was not Rainbow Girl, but a man.
Rainbow is busy right now and can't answer the phone.
I'll hang up first, the man said and hung up the phone. I looked at the phone in the book depressedly, not knowing what was going on in my mind. If I couldn't contact Rainbow Girl, who should I contact? There was another person in charge of this bar, that guy, I knew that, but I didn't know the guy's phone number at all, so what should I do? However, there is another saying, yes, hope often appears at the most desperate moment. When I had given up all hope of changing shifts and was about to eat some instant noodles, that guy came. Yes, it was the pretty boy who seemed unhappy with me last night.
Why are you on duty? Where's Rainbow?
The pretty boy seemed to be in a bad mood when he saw me.
Rainbow Girl went on a date, so let me be on duty here,
I said to the pretty boy. Date? The pretty boy looked at me in confusion, then said nothing more and walked into the bar silently. It's time to change shifts, let's hand over. Well, okay, there are 846 yuan in it, count it yourself, I said to the pretty boy, pointing at the money in the drawer. The pretty boy walked over and sat down, then took out the money and started counting. After counting for a while, the pretty boy checked it on the system again, then nodded to me and said to me, you can leave now. I didn't say anything and just turned around and walked out.
You are not some powerful person.
If you don't give me face, I will definitely not give you face. After coming out of the bar, I immediately went to the Yakuxian Xiaolong Babo restaurant downstairs. I hadn't eaten anything in the morning and had been hungry until now. I'm not an Iron Man and I can't stand this kind of suffering. After entering, I habitually asked for 2 baskets of buns, but suddenly remembered that I was in a difficult period, so I quickly changed my mind and asked for 1 basket of buns. After eating the buns, I left the bun restaurant. Although I still felt a little hungry, at least not as hungry as before. I went to the supermarket next door and bought a pack of Hongtashan cigarettes. After putting one in my mouth, I walked towards the school. I wanted to go and have a rest, but when I arrived at the school gate, I suddenly remembered that I had been kicked out of the dormitory. So I gave up the idea of entering the school and instead walked towards the house I rented. The place I rented is not too far from here, and it takes about 10 minutes to reach the courtyard. After arriving in the courtyard, I stopped and looked into the room next to me. That was the room rented by Teacher Shui. Feeling a little bit lost in my heart, I slowly came to Teacher Shui's door, but found that there was a padlock on the door of Teacher Shui's room. I had no choice but to leave here, came to the room I rented, opened the door silently, and walked in. After entering, I immediately lay down on the bed. Lost people always like to think about things quietly by themselves, and I am no exception. Lying on the bed, I turned off my cell phone and isolated myself from the outside world. I don't know when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, it was already dark outside. I opened my phone with a dizzy head, but it was empty. This is what it is like. Even if you have been missing for more than a month, no one will contact you except your parents, and of course it is impossible for them to know what you are doing. Helpless life, helpless living, helpless me. I sighed. However, just as I was sighing, a text message suddenly came. I picked up the phone with a little annoyance, thinking that it must be that damn China Mobile that sent a text message saying that I had no phone credit and asked me to pay the bill. However, when I opened the text message, I was completely dumbfounded. The text message was not sent by China Mobile, but by Wang Ruobing. The clouds in the sky are wandering, their horses on the ground are galloping. What are people living in the real world doing? Some are missing, some are thinking, and some are also missing. The shadow of that person is all in their minds. Besides missing, what else can I do? This is the text message Wang Ruobing sent me. I took a look and was a little confused, so I replied, Beauty, did you send the wrong message? I am Sun Xiaolong, the poor loser. Don't mistake me for someone's rich and handsome man. After sending the message, I suddenly felt something was wrong. Thinking of what Wang Ruobing and I said in the milk tea shop this morning, I suddenly had a little bit of awakening. Could it be that the person Wang Ruobing missed was me? But thinking carefully about my appearance and my power, I suddenly felt that this was a little impossible. With my poor appearance, how could the school beauty fall in love with me? You are playing an international joke. Are you fantasizing too much? Just at this moment, Wang Ruobing's text message came back, with only 4 words, har har, maybe. Damn, fuck. I know exactly what kind of rhythm this is. This text message is most likely directed at me. What should I do? Poor bastards are used to having their dignity trampled on by goddesses. Please don't let happiness come so suddenly, okay? Pang! At this moment, there was a loud noise outside. I heard it clearly, and it must be the door in the courtyard being kicked open. I was just about to go out to see what was going on when I suddenly heard a woman outside yelling loudly. You are committing a crime, you are committing a crime, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you at the police station, came the woman's urgent voice. My heart suddenly tightened because I was very familiar with this voice. It was Teacher Shue's voice. Chapter 20, Let's Live Together. Zonheng writer Di Show died lonely, mourning, rest in peace. I quickly ran outside, but just as I was about to open the door, I stopped again, looked around the house, and saw an iron rod in the corner of the wall. I didn't know what it was used for. I quickly picked up the iron rod, held it in my hand, then opened the door and rushed out. When I went out, there was no one in the yard, so I hurried out and saw two men struggling with Teacher Shue, trying to pull Teacher Shue into the Mercedes-Benz car with black stockings. I didn't know what was going on in my mind. The only thing I wanted to do at that moment was to save Teacher Shue. So I rushed forward and hit the two men with the iron stick in my hand. Let go of Teacher Shue, let go of Teacher Shue. I shouted and hit the two men. The two men didn't expect me to come out, and were thrown into panic by my sudden attack. I became more and more excited, and at first I just hit them on their bodies, but later, because I was very excited, I started hitting the two men on the head with the iron rod in my hand. The two men used their arms to shield their heads, so I didn't hit them on the head, but it gave them a huge psychological shock. The two men finally couldn't resist and quickly got into the car. I was so excited that I didn't want to stop. When they got into the car, I started hitting their car windows with the stick in my hand, breaking several pieces of glass. In a flurry of activity, the car was started and then drove away. Damn it, if you dare to show up again, I will definitely kill you here. I yelled at the car that was driving away. Turning my head to look at Teacher Shue, I found that Teacher Shue was squatting on the ground, with his hands on his face, head lowered, and his body still trembling. Anyway, Teacher Shue is a woman after all, and it is normal for her to be scared after seeing such a scene. Even I, a pure man, felt my body trembling at this time. Of course, I was trembling not because I was scared, but because I was too excited, so excited that I couldn't control my body. Teacher Shue, please go in and don't stay here. I walked over and said to Teacher Shue. Teacher Shue slowly raised his stiff head. There were no tears, but there was fear in his eyes. Who were those people just now? What were they going to do? I asked Teacher Shue after helping him up. They should be my stepfather's people. My stepfather may have known that what happened that day was fake, so. Teacher Shue fell silent. It's okay, Teacher Shue, I'm here. Even if your stepfather comes, I will still drive him away. I said to Teacher Shue. Teacher Shue nodded and walked in with me. Teacher Shue's room door was not open, so I took Teacher Shue directly into my room, helped her sit on the bed, and poured her a glass of water. After Teacher Shue came in, he didn't say anything, he was just lost in thought. Teacher Shue didn't say anything, and I couldn't find a topic to talk about, so I just sat there and didn't say anything. After sitting there for quite a while, Teacher Shue put the cup on the table and suddenly said to me, Xiaolong, I'm sorry about what happened that day. I didn't mean to deceive you. It was just that the situation was urgent at the time, and I had no choice but to think of such a solution. Teacher Shue's words filled my mind with the scene of that morning again, a man and a woman entangled together, moaning together, intoxicated together. However, when I think about it now, what happened that day seems like a dream, so unreal and so incomprehensible. It's okay, Teacher Shue, you have your difficulties. Besides, I already feel satisfied to be able to help you. I said to Teacher Shue with a smile. Teacher Shue smiled softly, and then said to me, I've been in a bad mood these past 2 days, so my attitude may also be a little bad. I hope you don't mind. Har har, teacher, how could I possibly mind? You have your own things to do and your own life, and I shouldn't bother you like that. Suddenly, I felt that the conversation between Teacher Shue and I was like each of us atonement for our sins, and it seemed a little unreal. Teacher Shue might have felt a little unnatural, but it was still early and she might not have dared to go back to bed, so she said to me, Do you have any playing cards? Let's play landlord. It seems there is one. Let me go look for it. I stood up and started looking around the house. After searching for a long time, I finally found the playing cards in my computer bag. Since there is no broadband in the house, I have never used the computer since I brought it here. Now when I see the computer, I suddenly feel that I have neglected it a little. I took the poker and sat on the bed. There is no other place to play poker in the house, so the only place to play is probably on this bed. You should know how to play landlord for two people, right? Teacher Shui asked me. Of course I know this. When the cards are dealt, 3 people are dealt. If there are 2 people playing, it's as if the other person hasn't played any cards. I said with a smile. Har har, I'm glad to know. Teacher Shui chuckled, but that smile was a little unnatural. It seemed that he still couldn't forget the things in his heart. When playing cards with Teacher Shui, I always felt that Teacher Shui was absent-minded and could not focus on playing cards, so I always won in the end, and Teacher Shui rarely won. But even so, Teacher Shui did not give up playing cards, but played with me until 11:30. 11:30 is not too early, it's time to go to bed. After playing cards for the last time, Teacher Shui threw the cards on the bed, stood up with a little irritation, and said to me, "It's getting late, I'm going to rest, and we can play again when we have time." I nodded and said, "Well, Teacher Shui, you should go to bed early." "Yeah." Teacher Shui nodded, and then walked out. I followed her out. After Teacher Shui went out, she went straight to her room door, took out the key and opened the door. Just as she was about to go in, she suddenly stopped, turned around and said to me, "Thank you for what happened tonight." My heart suddenly beat faster. Is this the feeling of being moved? Before I could say anything, Teacher Shui opened the door and walked in. After standing at the door for a while, I walked in and sat on the bed in the room. I think I must be a little distracted mentally. Sitting on the bed, I have no idea what I am thinking about. My mind always feels messy and I can't calm down. It was already past 12 o'clock and I was not sleepy at all, so I turned off the lights and lay on the bed listening to music. As I was listening to a song, my cell phone suddenly rang. It was a text message. I slowly picked up the phone from the pillow, unlocked it and found that it was a text message from Teacher Shui. Just when I was daydreaming, my heart was beating faster, and even my little prince was getting hard. Teacher Shui's text message came again. I quickly took a look and saw the following content. I was a little anxious just now and may not have explained it clearly. I saw a house in the city, a 2-bedroom, 1 living room type, and the rent is 1,000 yuan per month. I originally wanted to live there alone, but what happened tonight made me a little scared, so I was thinking, can I share the rent with you and live in together? After seeing Teacher Shui's message, I felt a little disappointed. I originally thought that Teacher Shui wanted to live in the same house with me and live a married life, but now it seems that I was wrong. It was clear that Teacher Shui invited me to live with her because she was afraid. She was afraid that something like what happened tonight would happen again, so she wanted a bodyguard. I know very well what Teacher Shui is thinking, but my heart tells me that even if this is the case, I am willing to do it. Men are born to protect the women they love. Since I like her, I must take on this task. What's more, after living together for a long time, Teacher Shui might develop feelings for me, and at that time, it is hard to say what will happen. If we can be together for a lifetime because of living together, why should I give up this opportunity now? After thinking carefully, I sent a text message to Teacher Shui. Teacher Shui, you scared me just now, but fortunately your next text message came in time, so I understood your idea. I accept your invitation and rent a house in the city, which is safe, but I have no money this month, so I can only pay the rent next month. What do you think? After sending the text message, my heart started beating wildly. I was so excited that I didn't know how to express my feelings at the moment. In my mind, I was fantasizing about the erotic scenes of living with Teacher Shui, but the little prince stood up at this time. I have always had a principle in life, that is, masturbation is healthier. The little prince stood up, which means that he already has such a. Although I can't find a tight hole for him to fuck with a real knife and a gun, don't I still have a pair of hands? Sometimes it's better to masturbate together, isn't it? Maybe I was too absorbed in masturbation, I didn't even notice that Teacher Shui had replied to my text message. When the little prince finally collapsed and slowly became dejected, I found the text message that Teacher Shui had replied to me. Okay, I'll move there early tomorrow morning. You don't have to go to class tomorrow, right? This was the text message that Teacher Shui replied. Yeah, okay. I'll be moving early tomorrow morning, so I don't have to attend class tomorrow. In fact, apart from your class, I haven't attended any other teacher's classes. After replying to Teacher Shue's text message, I began to look forward to Teacher Shue's reply. This is what it feels like to like someone. You always look forward to her talking to you, and you always hope to feel her presence at all times. But the final result still disappointed me. Teacher Shue did not reply to my text message. I guess he fell asleep. Helplessly putting the phone on the bedside, I pulled up the quilt and prepared to go to sleep. No matter what, I still need to sleep. It is okay to miss someone, but giving up sleep because of missing someone is an unhealthy view of love. Just like what Teacher Shue said that day, excessive admiration for the person you like is an unhealthy view of love. The correct view of love should be to like each other, understand each other, and respect each other's private space. This sleep should be the most comfortable sleep I have had in the past few days. In the past few days, I could only fall asleep in sorrow, but today, I fell asleep slowly with a smile on my face. I slept until the next morning without any interruption in my sleep. In a daze, I seemed to hear someone knocking on the door outside, and saying something. My subconscious slowly woke me up, and I could hear their voice outside clearly. Xiaolong, are you up? This was obviously Teacher Shue's voice. Not yet, but I'm awake. I'll get up now. You just wait for me for 10 minutes. When I heard Teacher Shue's voice, I felt like I had taken a stimulant and immediately jumped out of bed. Okay, I made some breakfast. Come over to your place to eat after you get up. Teacher Shue outside was about to leave after saying this. I suddenly began to yearn for the food that Teacher Shue cooked. Although I have never eaten Teacher Shue's food, if the handwriting can reflect the person, then why can't the food reflect the person? Teacher Shue is so beautiful, so the food she cooks shouldn't be bad, right? This gave me the motivation to get up, and I dressed and washed almost twice as fast as usual. In less than 5 minutes, I finished everything I should do and stood at the door of the room. There was a mirror behind the door. I looked at myself in the mirror. Although I still looked as cold as ever, I looked much better. What's the word for it? Oh, it's called radiant. I opened the door and walked out. There was no one in the yard. Those who were supposed to go to work had already gone to work, and the landlady should have gone to do morning exercises. I came to the door of Teacher Shue's room, stood there for a while, and then knocked on the door of Teacher Shue's room. Teacher Shue, can I come in? I asked standing at the door. Come in. Teacher Shue's voice came out, and I pushed open the door and walked in. This is my first time to come to Teacher Shue's room. Although the room is small, the layout inside is very exquisite. It is like entering a fairy tale world, which makes people imagine and feel very comfortable. Moreover, there was a faint fragrance in the room. Of course, I'm not talking about the fragrance of food, but the kind of perfume that makes people's minds wander. There is a small table here. Please sit down. I will serve you some food. Teacher Shue asked me to sit down and then went out. There is no kitchen in Teacher Shue's room, but the landlady has a kitchen, and that kitchen is shared. As long as you are a tenant, you can cook and eat there. After waiting for a while, Teacher Shue came in from outside, holding a bowl in one hand and a plastic bag filled with fried dough twists in the other. Eat, consider it as my thanks for what you did last night. Teacher Shue put the bowl on the table. I took a look and found that what Teacher Shue made was egg soup. Although it is a simple breakfast, it reminds me of the little things at home. Since I came to Juchuan to study, I basically can't drink egg soup at school except when I go home during holidays. Today I can see egg soup again and drink it. You should be able to imagine my excitement. Take your time eating. I'd like to borrow your room first. Teacher Shue said to me. My attention was focused on the bowl of egg soup, so I didn't notice Teacher Shue. Looking at the bowl of egg soup, the feeling of intimacy became deeper and deeper. Finally, I couldn't help it and drank the egg soup quickly with the fried dough twist. I felt very comfortable, or rather very happy. I knew that after living with Teacher Shue, my happy days would soon come. I have a habit of lighting a cigarette after dinner. I felt in my trouser pocket and suddenly found that I had no cigarette. After thinking about it carefully, I remembered that I put the cigarette under the pillow when I went to bed last night and did not take it out. The urge to smoke comes from the heart. I immediately stood up from the stool, opened the door, walked to the door of my room, and pushed it open very naturally. When I opened the door, I couldn't believe the scene in front of me. Teacher Shue was actually changing clothes on my bed. She had taken off all her clothes and was almost completely naked. Before I could react, the little prince had already become hard and erected a tent under me. Chapter 22, Sexy Black Silk Girl. R. Teacher Shue cried out softly, then quickly sat down on the bed and covered his body with clothes. Sorry. I hurried out and closed the door. Standing at the door, the thought of Teacher Shue's soft cry just now emerged in my mind. It was like a woman's cry when a man and a woman make love. It kept echoing in my mind, making me uneasy. My heart was beating fast, and the little prince's hardness made me realize that it would be a shame to not jerk off one more time. I stood at the door, hoping so much that I could go inside and be intimate with Teacher Shue like last time, doing something that would be very meaningful for the future of mankind. The more I thought about it, the more uncomfortable the little prince felt. I knew I couldn't bear it any longer and the physical problem had to be solved. So I turned around and walked into Teacher Shue's room. But I didn't want to be as careless as Teacher Shue, so I locked the door from the inside to prevent Teacher Shue from suddenly coming in and seeing me doing those bad things inside. After entering, I wanted to start the practical activities right away, but when I turned around, I suddenly saw the small box at the head of Teacher Shue's bed. I guessed that might be where Teacher Shue stored her clothes, so I walked over, and sure enough, I found a lot of Teacher Shue's clothes in the box. Without choosing, I found Teacher Shue's black stockings in the box at a glance. After taking out the black stockings, I put them to my nose and smelled them. That feeling made me feel very refreshed. The little prince couldn't hold back any longer, so I quickly freed him, put black stockings on his arms, and used the hand in the black stockings to soothe him. I imagined that my hand was Teacher Shue's thigh, and that what was soothing my little prince was not my hand, but Teacher Shue's very attractive thigh in black stockings. You can imagine how refreshed you are when your little prince is caressed by Teacher Shue's thighs clad in black stockings. You can no longer feel the existence of the outside world. From your perspective, you can only see your little prince and Teacher Shue's seductive body. I was almost on the verge of orgasm, and the sudden pleasure in my body made me hum softly, and my breathing became rapid. R. I called out softly, and a stream of white liquid spurted out, leaving a trail of white liquid on the ground, as if proving to me that a successful masturbation was over. The plane was not shot down, we were all glorious dead balls, and turned into pitiful liquid-like substances that could be trampled on by anyone. I don't know when it was, maybe when I was about to ejaculate. I closed my eyes, as if I was really imagining being in such an environment. Now that everything that should end is over, I slowly opened my eyes. Xiaolong, are you in there? Teacher Shue's voice suddenly came from outside. I was so scared that I cleaned up the scene as quickly as possible, then adjusted my breathing, walked to the door, and slowly opened it as if nothing had happened. Teacher Shue, when are we leaving? I said after opening the door. If you're done packing, leave now. Teacher Shue walked in slowly, probably going to the bed to get her bag. It was only then that I realized that Teacher Shue had changed into a white dress. The stockings on her thighs had also been changed to white stockings, and even the shoes on her feet had been changed to high heels, the kind that were lighter in color, almost blue. When I saw this combination, I suddenly thought of a sentence I once read: a white dress with black stockings will look sexy, while with white it will look more ladylike. Is Teacher Shue now preparing to become a lady? Huh? What's wrong with you? Aren't you going to pack your things? The car I called will be here soon, so go pack your things quickly. Teacher Shue turned around and said to me, who was in a daze. I nodded blankly, then opened the door and prepared to go out. However, my heart was itching, as if I had to say what was hidden in my heart. Finally, I couldn't hold it in any longer, and before leaving, I suddenly said to Teacher Shue, Teacher Shue, I have something to say to you. What? Teacher Shue, who was packing up, turned around and looked at me. Your outfit today makes you look so ladylike, I said with a smile, then quickly came out and closed the door. Although I came out in a hurry, I still noticed the change in Teacher Shue's facial expression at the beginning, the change from questioning to stillness. After I came out, I laughed secretly for a while, and imagined in my mind the feeling of having sex with a lady, and finally realized that this kind of devilish idea was very harmful and not allowed at all, because at the moment when I was imagining it, the little prince actually got hard again. I still understand the truth that light masturbation is pleasant but excessive masturbation is harmful to the body, so I tried my best to suppress the thoughts in my mind and resolutely not put them into practice. If I put them into practice, I probably would never have a chance to be with a woman in this life. When I arrived at the room, I took a look and found that the only things that needed to be packed were my bed and computer. Apart from these two things, it seemed that I really had nothing else to pack. After quickly packing up these things, I found that I had nothing else to pack, so I stopped, sat at the head of the bed, lit a cigarette and started smoking. From the time I learned to smoke until now, I have always smoked hongtashan. Many people say that hongtashan is harmful to the human body, but I only like to smoke this kind of cigarette because it is strong, unlike other cigarettes which are soft and do not give people a sense of pleasure. I had just finished smoking a cigarette when I heard a car horn outside. Then I heard the door of Teacher Shue's room next door open. When Teacher Shue walked out, the sound of her high heels stepping on the ground made a rather tempting clattering rhythm. Xiao Sai, how can you live in a place like this? I thought that even if you were kicked out by your damn stepfather, you could at least live in a better place, but I didn't expect you to live in a place like this. A very magnetic and domineering female voice came into my mind. I didn't know what was going on, but I immediately stood up from the bed and walked out of the room. When I came outside, I happened to see Teacher Shui and a tall, noble, and pretty woman wearing black stockings walking hand in hand towards Teacher Shue's room. My eyes were fixed on this woman, and I suddenly felt a little itchy in my heart. This doesn't mean that I have fallen in love with someone else, but you should understand the helplessness of being obsessed with black stockings. As long as I see black stockings, I can't control myself, especially this kind of black stockings that make people tall, have long thighs, and have a very beautiful face, which makes it even more impossible for me to control myself. Teacher Shui saw me, so he stopped before entering the house, pointed at me and said to the woman in black stockings with a smile, "He is Sun Xiaolong. He helped me drive away the people my stepfather brought last night. For safety, I decided to live with him." What? The woman in black stockings suddenly screamed, "You want to live with this man? Fourth brother, are you okay? How many good men are there in this world? You seem to be very well behaved now, but your true colors will be revealed after living with you. If you get taken away by this poor boy for the first time, don't say I didn't warn you." When I heard what the girl in black stockings said, I felt my face burning and I didn't know what to say for a moment. "Xiao Long, don't mind it. Xiao-san is a TV host and has a sharp tongue. Don't mind it. I believe in you, don't worry." Teacher Shui said to me apologetically and then said to the woman in black silk stockings, "Xiao-san, don't say that all men in the world are like that just because you were played by a man. Xiao Long is my student and I know him well." What? Or your student? Are you going to have a teacher-student relationship? Or like in the Japanese nude art films, have a teacher and student have sex? The black-stockinged girl spoke without restraint and said a lot of nonsense, which made Sun Xiaolong feel like dying. "Xiao-san, stop talking." Teacher Shui seemed angry. He shook off the hand of the girl in black stockings and walked inside. The woman in black stockings looked inside and then walked towards me. "Boy, tell me the truth, do you have that kind of idea about our Xiao Sai?" The girl in black stockings walked up to me, leaned close to me and asked me. "No. No." Smelling the particularly alluring fragrance of the woman in black stockings, I suddenly felt like I couldn't speak. This is best. It's best not to have any ideas about my mistress. If you have that kind of physical need, come to me and I will help you solve this problem. But I will never allow you to touch my mistress, otherwise, I will cut off your little dick. The girl in black stockings handed a business card to me while speaking. I unconsciously stretched out my hand to take the business card. After giving me the business card, the woman in black stockings rubbed my body with her legs in stockings, smiled gently, and walked into the room. Holding the business card that the woman in black stockings gave me, I took a look and found out that her name was Zhang Haiyan and she was a host of Juchuan TV station. However, I had never watched TV since I came to Juchuan, so I didn't know that Juchuan TV station would have such a female host who looked so shameless. Chapter 23, The Commander's Military Vehicle. I casually put the business card Zhang Haiyan gave me into my wallet, and then went to Teacher Shue's room. "Xiaolong, go pack your things and put them in the car." I had just entered when Teacher Shui rushed me out again. I had no choice but to come out and go to my room. After looking around, I found that there was nothing else I could take away, so I picked up my bedding and walked outside. After I came outside, I was completely dumbfounded. The car parked outside was actually a military version of the Hummer, and even the license plate was from the military district. How could I not be shocked? Could it be that Zhang Haiyan had an affair with the military district? If so, this woman should not be underestimated. Can a woman who has a relationship with the military district be a simple woman? I walked around the car and finally threw all the bedding and other things into the back compartment. After throwing the bedding roll into the car, I felt itchy and my inner thoughts told me that I must get into this car to experience the style of the military version of the Hummer. Although I can get on this car later, the urgency in my heart tells me that I must get on it now. I looked into the yard and found that Teacher Shui and the Goblin had not come out yet, so I immediately jumped into the driver's seat of the Hummer. I'm holding the steering wheel. Although I haven't driven the car yet, I can already feel the momentum. This car will definitely be very powerful to drive. My hand subconsciously reached for the keyhole of the Hummer, and when I touched it, I found that the witch Zhang Haiyan did not even take out the key when she got out of the car. The desire to drive a military Hummer in my heart became stronger and stronger. As a military fan, I could no longer resist the idea in my heart. I quickly jumped off the Hummer and looked around the yard. I found that Teacher Shui and the Goblin had not come out yet, so I immediately turned back, got back in the car and started it. The roar of the engine was very loud, and it was indeed worthy of the might of a military Hummer. For fear that the Goblin would come out after hearing the sound, I immediately stepped on the accelerator. The moment I stepped on the accelerator, the engine speed increased rapidly, and then the car rushed out like an arrow. Except for some manual transmission versions in the early military version, almost all Hummers are automatic transmission now, and this Hummer is no exception. The power of the four-wheel drive feels particularly powerful when driving on the road, and I feel very excited. Maybe it was because I was excited or maybe it was because I was impulsive. I drove to the school gate. At this moment, I suddenly came to my senses. If I drove a Hummer to school, many people might envy me, but afterwards they would mostly laugh at me, because this car was not mine after all. But now I couldn't stop even if I wanted to. I felt like I didn't want to take my foot off the accelerator at all. I still stepped on the accelerator and drove into the school. There was a railing at the school gate, and generally cars had to report before entering. But I don't know what happened, this time the railing at the school gate was actually erected straight for me. This is something I never expected. Why would it be like this? I asked myself, is this too exciting? I continued to drive the car in excitement. The unique roar of the Hummer quickly attracted the young men and women walking on the campus. Almost habitually, they looked at me and my car with admiration, showing envy of me. Some even took out their phones to take pictures. Needless to say, this headline will definitely be on the school forums and forums tonight. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became, and the more energetic I felt, so I continued driving inside. After walking around the campus for a full circle, I finally felt interested enough and drove out of the campus. As soon as I walked out of the school gate, I was a little confused. A military vehicle was parked at the gate. Two soldiers stood next to the vehicle and gestured to me to sit down and stop. I quickly parked the car aside, finally realizing that I had made things worse. After I stopped the car, the two officers came over, saluted me, and then said to me, "Comrade, please show me your police ID and driving license." I was completely confused. I was just driving the demon's car temporarily. Where was the police officer's license and driving license? Wasn't this clearly making things difficult for me? I was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, "Excuse me, comrade, this is my friend's car. How about I call her and ask her to bring all the documents over?" "Okay, please get out of the car first. We need to check your car," a soldier said to me and then went to the back to check. I didn't know what they were checking, but since they told me, I had no choice but to come down. The military is now very strict in its inspections of fake license plate vehicles and official vehicles. I originally thought it was just talk, but now that I have seen such high operational efficiency, I finally understand that this matter is not just talk. Soldier in uniform got off the military vehicle. I looked closely and found that it was a major. Major, after all, he is a battalion commander, and he actually appeared in front of me. For people who are used to seeing high-ranking officials, the battalion commander may not be a big deal, but for someone like me who has not seen much of the world, the rank of the battalion commander is really huge. "Young man, come here." The major got out of the car, looked at me and said to me. I walked over quickly, fearing to offend the major. "Where did you get this car?" The major pointed at the car and asked after I walked over. I borrowed it from someone else." I said with a little stutter. Har har, borrowed. It seems that you have quite a lot of power. You can even borrow the division commander's car. The major patted my shoulder and said, Commander. I looked back at the car, shocked. You didn't even know whose car you borrowed. The major laughed and continued, I was just passing by here today. When I passed by, I suddenly saw you driving in, so I waited for you. I thought it was the commander who came to this school, but I didn't expect it was a young boy like you. However, since we met, it is also a kind of fate. This is my phone number. Call me if you have any problems. We won't stay any longer. We will withdraw first. The major laughed and shouted to the two soldiers who were checking my car. The two soldiers immediately ran back, one sat in the front driver's seat and the other sat in the passenger seat. They seemed to be the major's guards. The military vehicle left quickly, leaving me standing there in a daze. This car actually belonged to the division commander. I looked back at the two Hummers, and I really couldn't tell how this car looked like the division commander's. If you say this Hummer is high-end, there are many in the army. The division commander shouldn't drive a convertible like this, right? However, this problem is obviously not what I should be thinking about now. What I should do is to drive the car back quickly to avoid more trouble. I quickly got in the car, started it, and drove towards the rented house. I accidentally looked at the time and realized that I had been driving here for half an hour. When I drove the Hummer back to that small road, I saw the goblin standing on the main road from afar, carrying Teacher Shue's luggage on his shoulder, and looking very unhappy. I was ready to escape. When I stopped the car, I jumped out immediately and ran towards the yard. However, just as I was about to enter the yard, I bumped into Teacher Shue who was about to come out. I was stronger and I was running, while Teacher Shue was weaker and walked slowly. I immediately knocked him to the ground, and I was pressed on Teacher Shue because of inertia. Of course, in addition to inertia, there was also some habit. My hands actually touched Teacher Shue's place. I felt like I was electrocuted all over my body, and my nose was bleeding. Chapter 24, The Mistress's Anger. However, nosebleeds are not in line with physiological laws after all. I knew I had done something wrong again, so I quickly stood up and said sorry to Teacher Shue, but then I felt that this was not right either. I leaned down again and pulled Teacher Shue up from the ground, and then I felt that the matter was finally over. Teacher Shue, I didn't mean it. I said as if I wanted to bend down to the ground. It's okay, I'm fine. Teacher Shue said softly, then moved past me and walked to the front. I thought Teacher Shue was really angry, but when I turned around, I found that Teacher Shue was blocking the demon Zhang Haiyan. Stop messing around. He just drove your car once. Get in the car quickly and pull the things over. Teacher Shue said to Zhang Haiyan who was chasing after him. Zhang Haiyan seemed to be very afraid of Teacher Shue. After hearing what Teacher Shue said, he didn't say anything else. He obediently carried Teacher Shue's luggage over, and then walked towards the Hummer parked in front with Teacher Shue's luggage. Teacher Shue, thank you. I said to Teacher Shue. Try not to provoke her in the future. She is a pervert and you men can't afford to offend her. Teacher Shue said to me, then walked back to the yard. I knew that Teacher Shue must be going to get something, so I hurried to follow him. When I followed Teacher Shue into the room, I found that there were not many things left to take away, only the last suitcase was left. Teacher Shue, let me do it. I walked over and pulled out the suitcase. After putting the suitcase in the car, I turned around and looked at Zhang Haiyan, only to find that Zhang Haiyan was also looking at me. HMPH, kid, you'll be in trouble from now on. Zhang Haiyan looked at me provocatively, then sat in the driver's seat. Teacher Shue also came out at this time, and after coming up, he sat in the back row of seats like me. There's an empty seat in the front. Who are you going to let sit there? The devil Zhang Haiyan turned her head and looked at Teacher Shue. Xiaosan, now that you're in the car, can't you just behave yourself? Teacher Shue glared at Zhang Haiyan. Okay, stop nagging. I'm afraid of you. Zhang Haiyan glared at me, then turned around and started driving. The car finally started moving and headed towards the city. As soon as I got on the main road, I couldn't help myself anymore. I had to speak out the questions in my mind. Yao. Sister Zhang Haiyan, may I ask, where did your car come from? How could it be the car from the spring? I asked Zhang Haiyan. Want to know? Zhang Haiyan turned around and looked at me. I want to know. I replied. Even if you want to know, I won't tell you. Zhang Haiyan said arrogantly. Haiyan, just tell me, I want to know too. Teacher Shui suddenly interrupted. Okay, then I'll tell you. Zhang Haiyan cleared her throat, probably about to speak. I found that I had no way to deal with Zhang Haiyan, and Teacher Shui seemed to be Zhang Haiyan's nemesis. Zhang Haiyan would listen to whatever Teacher Shui said. I also borrowed this car from a friend. Isn't my friend's father in the army? When I came here, I asked to borrow his car, and he stole his father's car. Zhang Haiyan said casually. Stealing? I said in surprise, my heart beating faster and faster. If the colonel hadn't had that idea at the school gate just now, I would have been dead this time. Of course, I didn't tell anyone what happened at the school gate just now. Now that it's over, let it go. After driving for more than 10 minutes, we finally arrived at a residential area. The name of this community is Yunxian Community. The houses in it are pretty good, but that's only for me, because it's obvious that this is a low-end residential area. After Zhang Haiyan stopped the car and looked at the neighborhood, she let out a breath and said, Xiao Sai, look at this place. This is not a place for people to live. I think you should just forget it. Let me find you a place to live. It's definitely 100 times better than this place, and you don't have to pay for the rent. Don't worry. After Zhang Haiyan finished speaking, she wanted to start the car and leave, but was stopped by Teacher Shui. No need, I appreciate your kindness, but the house you live in should be determined by your financial situation. Since I can't afford to live in a mansion, I think it's not bad to live here. Teacher Shui opened the car door, pulled the suitcase down from the back and tried to pull it up. Zhang Haiyan had no choice but to give up the idea, got out of the car, picked up the luggage in the back and started to put them up one by one. I followed the two beauties and started to take things from there. The first thing I took was definitely my notebook. This thing is now the most valuable thing in my body. If there is any problem with it, I will be ready to cry. After following the two beauties up 5 floors, I finally saw them stop and I felt relieved. I didn't expect that Teacher Shui would choose such a high-rise house. High floors are good for our health. We don't usually exercise, so high floors are a good opportunity for some exercise. Teacher Shui seemed to have guessed what I was thinking, turned around and said to me with a smile. Oh. I was speechless. I said I was still young and strong and didn't need such training. This is our house. Teacher Shui pointed to the house on the right with a book and reached into her bag to look for the key. Finally, I saw Teacher Shui take the key out of her bag, and I felt a lot more relieved. All these burdens finally had a place to go. Teacher Shui opened the door of the room and walked in first, then the goblin Zhang Haiyan followed in, and I was the last one to enter. After entering, I suddenly felt a warm feeling. Although it is a 1-bedroom and 2-living-room apartment, which is smaller than the future home I imagined, this atmosphere, that is the rhythm of life. After thinking about it for so many years, I never thought that my dream would come true today. I also never thought that the first woman I would live with would be my teacher. This world is really crazy, that's all I can say. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and bring the things in. Zhang Haiyan said to me like an elder. Only then did I react, and quickly took my things and walked inside again. However, looking at the 2 rooms, I didn't know which one I should enter. What are you looking at? This room belongs to you, Teacher Shui, and this room is mine. The living room is yours, and you will sleep in the living room from now on. But if you feel that this is not good, you can sleep somewhere else. I won't stop you. Zhang Haiyan said sharply. Xiao-san, stop talking nonsense. Teacher Shui came out of the bathroom. I was wondering why I couldn't find Teacher Shui just now. I didn't say anything nonsense. Zhang Haiyan seemed to be very aggrieved. Xiao-sai, do you feel safe living with a boy like this? If it was you in the past, I might be more relieved, but look at you now, you have really become a girl next door. Don't you know that men love to fantasize about girls next door the most? If you live with a man like this, I think something bad will happen sooner or later. Mistress. Teacher Shui looked angry. I was furious. What kind of person was this demon? Did he mean that I was a pervert? Am I really that perverted? Xiao Sai, do you really believe this man? Zhang Haiyan was very angry. I believe in him, I believe in the character of my students, and I believe that my students are definitely not that kind of scum. Is that enough? Teacher Shui said loudly. Zhang Haiyan seemed to be stunned. She stood there staring at Teacher Shui in a daze, looking as if she was extremely shocked. Xiao Sai, I'm telling you, don't be fooled by this man's simple and honest appearance. Zhang Haiyan walked towards me. Your name is Sun Xiaolong, right? And you're Xiao Sai's student. Then I'm going to ask you a question, and you must answer truthfully. Just ask. I feel that as long as I am upright, I have nothing to fear. Okay, then let me ask you, what kind of look did you give me when I just entered that yard? Did you have no intention? When I went up to you and rubbed my penis on your body twice, were you excited? Did you have any intention? Tell me, why should we trust a man like you? Zhang Haiyan's mouth was firing cannonballs like a string of bullets. Chapter 25, Officially Living Together. Even if I was lustful, so what? That's a man's normal physiological reaction, okay? Your actions are so coquettish, go ask Liu Xiaohui if he can stand your coquettishness. I used my expertise to refute this enchantress Zhang Haiyan. Look at you, you're still being stubborn. What do you think a normal man's reaction is? I think you're. That's enough. Teacher Shui suddenly got angry. You can quarrel, but please don't quarrel here. There is a third person here. I feel very annoyed. Zhang Haiyan and I both stopped, glared at each other, and said nothing more. Xiaolong, your room is that one. I like sunshine, so this room belongs to me. Is that okay with you? Teacher Shui said after calming down. Okay, as long as it's habitable. I started moving my luggage. Didn't he sneak into this room at night? Zhang Haiyan said with a little sarcasm, pointing at Teacher Shui's room. Xiao-san, stop talking. Do you think I haven't been blocked enough recently and want to make me more blocked? Teacher Shui suddenly pointed the finger at Zhang Haiyan. Xiao Sai, you? Zhang Haiyan pointed at Teacher Shui. I'm doing this for your own good. I'm fine now and don't need any other care. Teacher Shui said this and walked into their house. Zhang Haiyan stood there in a daze for a while, and suddenly said as if she had exploded, okay, I'm leaving. After Zhang Haiyan had her outburst, she turned around and walked out. I stood there, not knowing what to do. Teacher Shui, who had just entered the room, ran out of the room, looked at the door, and then ran to the balcony, opened the window and looked down. I felt extremely helpless and there was no other way out. I could only walk over silently, close the door, and then go into my room with my things. After entering, I made the bed and sat on it, not knowing what I was thinking. I secretly looked through the window connected to the balcony at Teacher Shui, who was standing at the window looking down, and suddenly found that Teacher Shui was crying. Maybe Teacher Shui is such a person, a woman who is harsh in words but very gentle in heart. In the real world, there are too many women like this. They all appear to be very tough in words but very fragile in their hearts. Perhaps this has become a common characteristic of women today. Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore. I sat up from my bed, opened the bedroom door, walked out, and came behind Teacher Shui. Teacher Shui. I called out softly, but Teacher Shui did not respond. Teacher Shui. I called out again, and Teacher Shui finally turned around like a zombie. From Teacher Shui's eyes, I saw sadness, regret, but also remorse and grievance. It's okay, I'm just taking a look outside. Teacher Shui said softly, then walked past me and went into her bedroom. I stuck my head out of the window and looked down. The Hummer below had left. That goblin had really left, leaving with a lot of anger in her heart. I felt a little helpless, but there was nothing I could do. I could only go back to my room and lie down on the bed. I lay on the bed and fell asleep before I knew it. After sleeping for about an hour, Teacher Shui woke me up. It turned out that it was time to eat. I'm not in the mood to cook. Come with me to eat something outside. Teacher Shui said to me. Okay. I nodded and began to try my best to regain my consciousness. Teacher Shui took me to a noodle shop downstairs, ordered 2 dishes and 2 bowls of noodles, and that was about enough. Today was the first meal that Teacher Shui and I had after settling into our new home. We should have been having a happy meal, but because of Zhang Haiyan's incident, the atmosphere around the meal was a bit tense and Teacher Shui seemed to be in a very unhappy mood. This kind of thing was actually beyond my expectations. No matter how hard I thought about it, I could not have imagined that something like this would happen today. I should have been happily toasting my glass to celebrate, right? Teacher Shui and I only spent a dozen minutes on the meal before finishing it hastily. After dinner, when I was about to go back with Teacher Shui, the phone suddenly rang. I picked it up and saw that it was Rainbow Girl calling. Knowing that it was time for me to go to the bitter camp again, I answered the phone reluctantly. "Hello," I said softly. "Come to work quickly, I'm hungry and need to eat." "There's no one to take over now, only you," Rainbow Girl said on the phone. "Okay, I'll be there soon," I said and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, I paused for a moment, then said to Teacher Shui, "Teacher Shui, I have to go to work now, you go back alone." "Yeah." Teacher Shui turned around, nodded slightly, and then left. I looked at Teacher Shui's back and didn't know what to say, so I could only let him go. Looking at Teacher Shui's lonely back as she walked away, I actually wanted to go up and have a chat with her to make her less depressed, but the reality was like this and I had no choice but to go to work or else I would not get paid. In order to get the money, I came to the bus stop and waited for the bus. Maybe I was lucky, because just as I reached the bus stop, a bus came over. I got on the bus and there was a seat available, so I sat down. Sitting in my seat, I looked outside, but my heart was still thinking about Teacher Shui. I wanted to make Teacher Shui less depressed, I wanted to make Teacher Shui happy. Maybe this is what is called liking, or love. I don't know how many stops we went, but when the car arrived in the suburbs, the carriage suddenly became chaotic. I quickly turned my gaze away from outside the car. I couldn't believe what was happening inside the car. A man in his 50s slapped a young woman hard, cursing at her. "I'm so old and have been standing here for a long time, but you didn't even give up your seat to me. It would have been fine if you didn't give up your seat just to remind you, but you seem to be right," the man shouted. "Why did you hit me? Even if I didn't give you my seat, you had no reason to hit me. Tell me, why did you hit me?" the woman kept yelling. The car had already stopped, and the man seemed unwilling to continue yelling at the young woman, so he just got out of the car. The woman was so angry that she chased after him while crying. The car started moving again, but I couldn't calm down. What happened just now really shocked my soul. What on earth is wrong with this world? Even if the woman was wrong for not giving up her seat, it seems even more unreasonable for this man to take advantage of his age. Maybe this has become a habit of this society. I don't have the power to comment on anything. The only thing I can do is to think about it in my heart. The car went 2 more stops and finally arrived at the school gate. I got off the car and walked towards the bar. The bar was not far away, and it only took me 2 minutes to reach the door of the bar. Feeling the atmosphere inside, I didn't want to go in, but this was work and I had no choice. In the end, I could only sigh helplessly and walked into the bar. There were a lot of people in the bar. I walked slowly towards the bar counter. Suddenly, I found an acquaintance in the bar. That person was Wang Ruobing. At this moment, she was holding a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other. After taking a sip of beer, she went to smoke, but ended up choking herself. A man next to her may have recognized Wang Ruobing, so he went up to her and tried to strike up a conversation with her, but ended up being slapped hard in the face by Wang Ruobing. "You bitch, do you think you're so awesome just because you're the school belle? You dare to hit me? Today I'll let you know what a man is. Come with me," the man said as he pulled Wang Ruobing's collar. Chapter 26, School Beauty, You Are Being Targeted. Seeing this situation, I immediately walked over and punched the man hard in the face when he was struggling with Wang Ruobing and didn't notice me at all. "I don't know whether you are a man or not, but Ruobing doesn't need to know what kind of man you are," I roared at the man. "Who the hell are you? If you dare to hit me, just wait for me." The man touched his face, then turned around and left angrily. "Thank you," Wang Ruobing said softly. After she finished speaking, she suddenly seemed to remember something. She grabbed my hand and said, "Let's leave here quickly. If he finds someone, it will be troublesome." "It's okay, don't worry. If he can find someone, I can find someone too. You can have fun, but don't smoke. Smoking is not allowed in the bar," I said to Wang Ruobing, then slowly loosened Wang Ruobing's hand that was holding my wrist with my other hand, and walked over to the bar. After arriving at the bar, I looked over at Wang Ruobing and found that she was already sitting in her seat, but she seemed to have no interest in playing anymore. It seemed as if she had something on her mind that she couldn't tell. She sat there alone, not wanting to do anything. "You're really good. That's the beauty of your school, right?" You really acted the hero's role very well, you actually saved the beauty. Rainbow Girl came closer and said, I think the beauty of your school seems to be interested in you, why don't you step up your offensive and attack her fiercely a few times, maybe you can really succeed. Don't talk nonsense, she is the school belle and I'm just an ordinary little bitch. Do you think a school belle would fall in love with an ordinary little bitch? I walked into the bar and sat next to Rainbow. Okay, you have your reasons, but I still want to tell you that women's sixth sense is very accurate. Anyway, the opportunity is in front of you. If you don't seize it, don't say I didn't remind you when you don't have another chance in the future. Rainbow Girl stood up and picked up her bag from the bar. You take over first. I have something to do. I will be back in 2 hours. There is no problem with the money in it. You can rest assured. Yeah, I know, go ahead. I said to Rainbow Girl. Rainbow Girl slung her bag over her shoulder, then walked out of the bar and left. After Rainbow Girl left, I sat alone at the bar, and suddenly I had a lot of things to think about. I didn't know what Teacher Shue was doing or whether he was in a better mood. I could only think about it. The more I thought about it, the worse my mood became. I didn't know what else I could think about. It seemed that I had already thought about everything I should think about, and there was not much point in thinking about what I shouldn't think about. The management system reminded me that number 45 was calling the management. I was the only management in the whole bar, so I stood up and walked over. When I came to machine number 45, I realized that machine number 45 was the one Wang Ruobing was sitting on. It was probably my fault for not being familiar with it. If I were really familiar with it, I would have been able to guess whether the person sitting on machine number 45 was Wang Ruobing. I came to Wang Ruobing's side. I had just stood here and hadn't spoken yet, but Wang Ruobing spoke first, make me some instant noodles. Wang Ruobing handed me 10 yuan in one hand. I took the 10 yuan from Wang Ruobing's hand and walked over. On the way to the bar, I suddenly felt something strange. I didn't know what kind of feeling it was, but this strange feeling was real. After I finished making the instant noodles, I brought them to Wang Ruobing. When I put the noodles down, I also looked at Wang Ruobing's computer screen. She was watching the TV series, Love Begins with Confession. I have also watched this TV series. It was recommended to me by my high school sweetheart. That person's last name was also Wang Dandan, but now I don't know where she is. Maybe it's just like the saying goes, after the college entrance examination, everyone goes their separate ways, and some people may never see each other again in their lifetime. During the whole process of putting the instant noodles on Wang Ruobing's table, Wang Ruobing never looked at me. Her eyes were fixed on the computer screen, as if she had entered into the TV series and was very immersed in it. I quickly returned to the bar and sat there for 2 hours. During this time, I saw the little bastard who was entangled with Wang Ruobing and a few other hooligans enter the bar, but they did nothing. They just looked around the bar and left. It was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It had been a long time since the time Rainbow Girl mentioned, and I had lost my patience waiting any longer. However, many things always seem to have a little turn when you are most desperate. At 3:30, Rainbow Girl finally came back with a smile on her face, which was similar to the smile a man would have after a romantic encounter. Rainbow, what's wrong? Did you find a boyfriend? You must be so happy. I said to Rainbow with a smile. Go to hell, I already have a boyfriend, do I need to look for another one? Rainbow Girl said as she sat over. You already have a boyfriend. How come I didn't know? Could he be from outer space? I teased. But to be honest, I really didn't know that Rainbow Girl had a boyfriend. Of course he's not an alien, it's just that he has been in Lanzhou and just came to Juchuan to see me today. Rainbow Girl said with a smile. Lanzhou? You just came today. After a pause, I put on an evil smile and said, should you guys have, har tonight? Go away, these are not your business. You'd better go away and do your job, that's the most important thing. Rainbow Girl smiled and patted me. This girl has become a little bit coquettish today, har. I walked out from the bar with a smile. When I was about to leave the bar, I saw the man who had been in trouble with Wang Ruobing standing at the door. He glanced at Wang Ruobing and walked out again with anger. I ran to Wang Ruobing and found that Wang Ruobing was still watching that damn TV series. I walked over to him, but found that he hadn't eaten the instant noodles I asked for. Aren't you leaving? Those thugs may be targeting you. Come on now, come out with me. I walked over and took off the headset on Wang Ruobing's head and said. Wang Ruobing turned her head and glanced at me, then said, I'm not afraid. I don't want to leave now. If you're off work, just leave. You don't have to worry about me. I looked at Wang Ruobing blankly, and after waiting for a while, I walked over. Wang Ruobing probably thought I was really leaving, and kept looking at me. But I didn't leave, but came to the bar, took out my ID card and said to Rainbow Girl, I'm here this time, give me $10. Rainbow Girl looked up at me and was stunned. What are you doing with nothing to do? Go back to bed, or you may be needed to cover for me tonight. We'll talk about the evening substitute shift in the evening. Now you have to top up the money on my ID card. I insisted on topping up the money. Rainbow Girl had no choice but to charge 10 yuan to my ID card, then took out the small notebook that recorded consumption, wrote my name on it, and recorded the 10 yuan recharge record on it. After the recharge was completed, I went to the computer next to Wang Ruobing, turned on the computer, and entered my ID number and password. I didn't leave and just sat here. Wang Ruobing knew that I was sitting next to her, but she ignored me. She seemed to be obsessed with TV and didn't notice any changes in the outside world. But I was very clear in my mind that Wang Ruobing had noticed that I was sitting next to her, but she just didn't want to point it out. Chapter 27, The Fox Takes Advantage of the Tiger. Wang Ruobing has been watching TV, episode after episode, while I could only play Red Alert out of boredom. I have always claimed to be a military fan, but many friends say that I am a fake military fan, and the reason is that I don't play Crossfire and Reverse War. They all say that there are many guns in these two games, and that you can learn about guns while playing games. However, to be honest, although I am a military fan, I can't muster any interest in guns. What attracts me enough are those battles that have been fought in reality, such as the 5 major battles in the Korean War, all the battles on the 2 fronts in the self-defense counterattack against Vietnam, and the classic battles in the self-defense counterattack against India, or, to be more specific, from the Battle of El Alamein to the Normandy landing, to the Gulf War. These famous battles I am quite familiar with. So, I am a military fan, but what I like is war. Of course, in terms of weapons, except for many guns that I am not familiar with, I am quite familiar with large weapons and weapons of mass destruction. From tanks to fighters, to missiles, and even warships and submarines, I know a lot of weapons, but I don't like guns, because I think that in modern warfare, close combat is almost impossible to happen. It is all large-scale information warfare, and guns are almost useless. This explains why I like playing Red Alert but not Crossfire. However, if you play this kind of game too much, you will get bored. I am already bored now because I can hardly find an opponent. After playing for so many years, my comprehensive skills are almost superb. I can win 9 times out of 10. There is no point in bullying others like this. I leaned back on the sofa, and there were not many questions in my mind. Looking at Wang Ruobing next to me, I really didn't know what this girl was thinking. It was almost 6:30, and she had to go to evening self-study after eating. Did this girl decide to skip class like me? I was staring at Wang Ruobing's computer screen, watching Hanfei, that idiot, forcibly kissing her while eating breakfast, but unexpectedly the phone rang at this moment. This ringtone is too evil. I took a look at the screen and quickly answered the call. I swear that I must change this ringtone from now on. In the past, there were not many beautiful women around me, so I could ignore these things, but now it seems that my luck has suddenly exploded. There are so many beautiful women around me. If I use this ringtone as my mobile phone ringtone again, it will be bad if a beautiful woman hears it one day. The call was from my homeroom teacher, so I said respectfully, "Teacher, I'm Sun Xiaolong, what can I do for you?" "Well, I know you as Sun Xiaolong. I heard that you haven't handed in your homework for a long time. You should make up for it today. The department will have a unified inspection the day after tomorrow. Those who don't have homework will fail the course directly, and the teacher can't stop it. I hope you pay attention to this problem and hand in all the homework as soon as possible." The head teacher said on the phone. I feel like I'm going crazy. When will I be able to finish so much homework? Teacher, you are not lying to me, are you? I haven't done any homework for half a semester. You want me to finish all my homework by the day after tomorrow? I'm afraid that's a little impossible. I pleaded in my heart, feeling very aggrieved. I don't care about this. You figure it out yourself. Anyway, you have to hand in all their homework by the day after tomorrow morning. If you can't, you will fail the course, unless you go and get the department head to do it." After saying this, their head teacher hung up the phone. I felt like I had the urge to die, so I put my phone on the computer desk and leaned back on the sofa. Damn it, if I fail a course, I fail it. It would be better if I failed all of them. Then I can just pay the money during the re-examination. Damn it. I cursed, got up from the back of the sofa, put my hand on the mouse, and prepared to play another game. I opened the game and was about to play when Wang Ruobing suddenly stood up. "I'm leaving." "What about you? Are you leaving now?" Wang Ruobing asked me. "Okay, I'm leaving too. Let's go downstairs and have dinner together. You can go back to school later." I stood up and said to Wang Ruobing. "Well, that's fine," Wang Ruobing said softly. I quickly logged off the computer and went out with Wang Ruobing. We walked a few steps out of the bar and were about to enter a noodle restaurant to eat when the young man who had had a conflict with us in the bar came up with 5 people. "You two, don't rush in. Wait until we finish our business before going in." The leader was the boy from that time. I stood up, pushed Wang Ruobing back, and said to the boy, "Why, are you planning to make a big scene today?" I knew showing weakness wouldn't solve the problem, so I just pretended to be very confident. "Little bastard, who do you think you are? Do you think I'll be scared just because you say a few words like that?" The boy took a few steps forward but was stopped by several people around him. "I recognize you." A man in a suit stepped forward. "I drove a Hummer around our school this morning. If you look at the bulletin boards and forums, you'll see news about you everywhere. Of course, I don't know who you are, but you'd better not mess with the people in our martial arts club. Otherwise, no matter how awesome you are, we will fight you, and in the end, who knows?" I smiled softly but didn't say anything, because I knew this guy was already scared and was just trying to save face. Let's forget about today's matter for now. However, I hope we can keep out of each other's way in the future. If you mess with us again, we won't be able to stand here and talk like this. After the guy in the suit said this, he stepped back and whispered a few words in the ear of the man who had a conflict with us, and then the few of them left. "You helped me again this time," Wang Ruobing said suddenly. "It doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do. It's because these guys are timid. If it were someone braver, I really wouldn't be able to help you," I said with a smile. "No matter what, you helped me, so I'll treat you to meal today." After saying that, Wang Ruobing turned around and walked into the noodle shop. I looked with contempt at the guys who had not gone far yet, and then followed Wang Ruobing into the noodle shop. Wang Ruobing walked straight into the small box, and I followed her in. We sat down in the small private room, facing each other. Not long after, the proprietress came in with the menu. "It's my treat today, just order whatever you want." Wang Ruobing took the menu from the proprietress and handed it to me. I pushed the menu back. When a man and a woman are having a meal, it doesn't make sense for the woman to pay. You order whatever you want to eat first. After pushing and shoving for 3 or 5 times, Wang Ruobing finally gave in, took the menu from the book and started to read it. After looking at it for a while, Wang Ruobing said, "Then I'll order some braised eggplant, and you can order another dish. We'll just have 2 bowls of noodles." I took the menu, glanced at it, ordered a mapo tofu, and then ordered 2 bowls of noodles. Then I handed the menu to the proprietress. Wang Ruobing and I were the only ones left in the box, and the atmosphere felt a bit tense. I didn't know why, but when Wang Ruobing and I were together, we seemed to have nothing to talk about. Actually, Wang Ruobing suddenly spoke, "You should be able to feel that I am." "I feel it," I said quickly. "I know you don't hate me anymore, which is fortunate. I thought you would hate me after I embarrassed you that day, but after a few contacts, I found that you don't hate me at all, which makes me feel very lucky." Har har, Wang Ruobing chuckled and said again, "Actually, this is not what I want to talk about today. I want to say something similar to this, but the situation is completely opposite." I was stunned. I could vaguely sense what Wang Ruobing was going to say. My heart started beating rapidly and I didn't know why.